Alright, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we are back for some more Darkest Dungeon with characters named based off people in chat. And we're getting a little bit of a late start tonight, and sorry about that, unfortunately. Had some work stuff that got dragging on a little bit into the evening, but we'll at least have a little bit of stuff to get started on today, so let's hop in. And I think last time we had the pleasure of doing a dungeon for the first time in which we, not the first time.
Days when the sun shone and laughter could be heard from the tavern.
For the second time, a dungeon that we had to flee preemptively. Now, one of them was, that time where we accidentally, sort of, if you want to call it that, summoned a humongous monster thing that almost devoured our entire team. That was, only after chat perhaps encouraged us to go in that direction, whereas this time around, we just turned out to, have a team that was quite a bit more flawed than we had realized, and went up against an enemy or two that made those team flaws that much more apparent. And so, it was also going to be our first medium-sized dungeon, and for that reason, we invested a fair bit in it. We bought a whole bunch of resources, and we did not get very far before we had to turn right around and head back to town. And so that hurt in many ways, including but not limited to our pockets, as we don't have a ton of monies after that, especially since we're going to need to invest more in preparation for our next dungeon. And also, we had, forget who it was who's on that mission. I think Ryu. As well as Anor, possibly, yeah, it was me as well, and then I thought it was one of our abominations, either Jer or no, probably Cam. And I mean, at least Cam could relieve some stress with some of the built-in abomination abilities, but we quickly realized that the key problem was that we had 3 people all fighting for the front 2 spots in our team composition, and otherwise whoever got relegated to the 3rd spot was going to be pretty much useless. And we also realized that we had, I think, only one person who could hit our opponent's back row, and that one person was Anor, a Vestal, who is generally not going to be our primary damage dealer. So when we could kind of squeak by for a few encounters and just hopefully have enough damage from who's ever in the front 2 spots to still get the job done. But eventually, when we ran into an enemy or two that really required that we hit the back row and hit the back row hard when we just couldn't do that, that's where we realized that no, there's really no way of saving this right now, short of just bailing. So bail we did, and we are still feeling the repercussions of that right now, I think. So that's still painful. That is still painful. And now the question becomes, if we are going to hop out on our next dungeon, what is the plan for this one? Is it to try to go back into one of those big ones, one of those medium-sized dungeons, and just hope and pray that we do better this time with some more deliberate roster construction? Or do we say, you know what, maybe after we had one that went awry, it might be time to go with a lower risk, more of a sure thing type of dungeon, where sure, we might not be getting a huge reward from it, but this does kind of seem like a time where we could use any victory that we can get, because it feels like, I don't know to what extent this is really the case, but perhaps if we were to go into a medium dungeon like we did last time, invest in it heavily like we did last time, I think we even were quite conservative, or quite we purchased a whole bunch of additional resources trying to play it safe, which on one hand, if we had completed the dungeon, would have meant it'd be a little bit easier. On the other hand, it turned out that, we just invested more in what was ultimately even more expensive failed expedition. So maybe we're looking for more of a low-cost solution here, because it feels like if we were to fail another medium-sized dungeon that we invest a lot in, then could find ourselves dropping low enough in terms of money, especially after we also have to put some people into places where they can relieve some stress or heal some maladies, then, I mean, are we gonna not even be able to afford the food and torches that it takes to go out on a dungeon? If so, then that means we are in serious trouble. I don't know, like, I guess, technically speaking, you could just throw out some new recruits and throw them into a dungeon with zero preparation whatsoever. And because it doesn't really cost you anything to recruit anyone, and in this case, we are quite literally spending $0 and 0 resources on those dungeons, then maybe there's no downside if you're willing to just scrap whoever you take on that dungeon, or, you know, accept it if they die, or if they do get, you know, stressed out from the 0 darkness, or suffer from some serious sickness, then you just say, oh, okay, no problem. We'll just dump them and replace them with someone else for free. Maybe that works. I'm not really sure. We haven't tried doing anything like that, but that's maybe the absolute worst case scenario, or the super low risk, or at least, I mean, yeah, I guess super low risk approach, even though the dungeon itself is high risk because there's a very little chance that we succeed. It's low risk in the way that we invested basically nothing, so we basically nothing to lose. Other than the people, but they're replaceable, right? Right. Okay, anyways, that's enough talk. I think let's at least take a look at what our options are here. So I think that's going to be the key thing that's going to dictate which direction we want to go in here, because we have a few boss fights. If I remember correctly, yeah, we have the Necromancer boss fight, but I don't think we want to be doing that when we have several of our biggest and best characters hanging out in town, relieving stress and whatnot. So that's probably not the time or place to do that, although we do still have Core available to us. He is one of our more experienced characters and does have some flexibility in terms of his positioning. So that's possible. Maybe we take a look at who we would want to take in this one anyway. Core, although he is our most experienced character, and therefore we'd like to kind of sort of find ways to integrate other less experienced people, give them some experience. We do have Jer. We do have our unnamed bounty hunter, our unnamed Arbalest, and then Steelwolf is doing okay. Our unnamed, I don't even remember what the name of this new guy is, the Occultist, and Beric, who recently joined us as well. So we do have bodies that we can throw into a dungeon. Not the most experienced ones, unless we are counting on Core once again to just carry a team of otherwise very new people. I mean, you're level 1. You're level 1. We haven't tried going into the coves yet, but like maybe we could give that a shot. Curiosity. Let's see what is. Oh, this is level 3. Okay, no, that's probably not the best place to bring out a new team in that case. This was this the one that we messed up on? This is also a boss, isn't it? Kill the wizened hag. What about this? No, I think this was the one that we tried. No, it was in the ruins. It was a medium-sized, non-boss fight dungeon. So yeah, I think it was medium level 1. It was probably this. Reclaim relics of the light. Gather 3 holy relics. That doesn't sound familiar, though. Maybe it was a slightly different objective. Maybe it changes, because I think this is a different reward that we're seeing here. Plus 30% bleed resist versus antiquarian only, plus 33% healing received, again, because the antiquarian just doesn't want to take hits. So yeah, not liking those rewards as much as what we saw when we initially attempted this dungeon, so that's unfortunate. So it's not as much of an upside there. Grave Robber item, which is also not all that meaningful to us, because I don't think we have a Grave Robber yet. No, we don't. There's, again, boss fight, but not... About Warrens? Warrens is level 1, and it is short. So this is technically our lowest risk dungeon that we have remaining. So if we are looking to maybe do one that doesn't have very high stakes, and do one where we can get in some characters that have not yet participated in many dungeons, this might be the best way to make that happen. So let's see. Estate map skirmish, an exploratory sortie into a mad realm of tunnels. Meet the enemy in battle, and then fade to safety with newfound information. Okay, so we need to complete 100% of room battles. We've seen that before. It's a short dungeon, so that's good. It's level 1. That's good. All those things mean it might make sense for a relatively inexperienced team. Also, pretty sure, yeah, I'm pretty stressed out. I'm not really sure why I'd be taking that first spot. That was probably accidental. But, 3,000 gold, portrait, and what is it? The item we get. Light resist, bleed resist, minus 20% disease resist. So, yeah, not without a downside. It does perhaps take some planning to figure out when and where that makes sense to use and when and where it does not. But, I mean, we need any small victory that we can manage here. So I think what that means is we will take a mostly new team out in this one. And we have a few people who are level 1. I think the key question is just, does this warrant breaking out Core, our most experienced character, to help make sure that things go a little more smoothly? Or do we say, you know what, we'll be fine with some level 0s and a couple of level 1s. I think we can make that work. I mean, that's how we started with level 1 dungeons in the past anyway, right? So we have our Arbalist, who makes sense in the last spot. It's been a while since we used her, because we used her possibly just once, and then she got super stressed and like, wouldn't, or insisted on staying in town or something like that. So let's see, remind me of what she does. From the back spot, she can hit any of the 3 back spots, but not the front row. Same with Sniper's Mark. Bola can hit the front rows, and it knocks them back into the back rows where she can hit them. And then she can heal either herself or an ally. And she can mark with the Sniper's Mark, theoretically, in a long battle at least. You mark with Sniper's Mark, that gives you extra damage on the sniper shot. And you can move, which in some cases might be useful. It does hit the first 2 people, which is kind of nifty, but it's not like it's a stun ability, I don't think. So one thing that does work well with the Arbalist is because she has some mark abilities, so does the Bounty Hunter. So they do kind of work well together. Might make sense to have them both go, because they are both, I believe, level 1 right now. So again, a little bit of experience, not a ton with these people. But in his case, front 3 spots, any spot, front 2 spots, front 3 spots. So we'd like for him to be probably in the first or second spot. So collect bounty. I think once again it's basically you can mark enemies with one ability and then follow up with additional damage with collect bounty. You have uppercut, which both knocks enemies back and stuns them. So that is nice. Stun has definitely been useful for us. Finish him. Extra damage versus stunned. Not sure if I realized that before. That is not really something we've seen before. Okay. That is kind of cool. I'm not sure if we ever used that with him before. But let's throw him in. I think that makes sense. So that's 2 out of 4. And both of these guys are level 1, so we might be able to sneak in a level 0 person or 2 here, in which case that would mean the Occultist and Barrack here, and the Houndmaster. Neither of which we've used before, obviously, since they're currently level 0. But position-wise, do they make sense? Do they work? So we can put the Bounty Hunter in the front spot. We could do that if this Occultist prefers being in the second spot rather than the front. So let's see, Sacrificial Stab, anywhere but the back row. Can do the healing anywhere. Do Hands from the Abyss anywhere. But Damon's Pull can't be in the front row, and that's why technically this is highlighted a little bit more than the front. Okay, so what if we do that, and we do that? So this guy, just taking a closer look though, was, it seemed, if I remember correctly, very high risk, high reward with the playstyle. Has the self-harm of sorts, either with damage or bleed. Yeah, heal self or heal a target, but also have a decent chance of giving it bleed, which is kind of this weird trade-off where since it's a huge range on the heal, 0 to 13, and it's not a guaranteed bleed, you could luck out, get a 13-point bleed, or rather 13-point heal and no bleed, and it's all upside. Or alternatively, you could get 0 heal and only bleed your ally, in which case it's all downside. More likely than not, it's going to end up somewhere in the middle, of course, but that is the kind of thing that you're going to have to deal with, where it's a little more uncertainty when you're using him. Let's see, then Sacrificial Stab, extra damage versus Eldritch. We don't really know what kind of enemies we're going to be encountering in this area, because it's going to be the first time we're going here. So maybe it'll have a lot of Eldritch enemies, maybe it won't. Then, oh, Hands from the Abyss. Okay. Low damage, but very high chance to stun. It actually reduces our Torchlight, which is something we've not seen from any characters that we've used thus far. We have some characters that will increase Torchlight. Be kind of nice to have someone who can do that to make up for this ability here. And stuns, we do like to use them, so it is probably an ability that we would break out fairly often, which means we are at risk of seriously reducing our Torchlight, which is kind of concerning. Demon's Pull, low damage, but I assume that means, yeah, pull enemies that are in the back 2 rows up to the front 2 rows, and clear all corpses, which does help if we have some allies that can't hit the back rows, like Bounty Hunter. Oh, that's another thing that we did not do a good job of focusing on last time. We focused more on our position, but not the target positions here. So, like, Occultist is good against the 3rd row, but doesn't have much against the back row other than probably this Demon's Pull. That might be it. Yeah, it is. Whereas Bounty Hunter, front 3 rows, front 2 rows, any row, but that's just a mark, a debuff. It doesn't actually deal damage directly. And then the Collect Bounty, also front 2 rows. So yeah, with these 2 guys, we don't have a lot against the back row, although the Occultist can help set ourselves up by pulling someone in from the back row into the front and clearing out corpses, which might have been a bit of a hindrance to us. The Arbalist, I think, is, I was going to say pretty important to hit the back row, although I'm a little surprised that that's not showing up a little more brightly. I mean, Sniper Shot is the primary damaging ability, and that can hit the back row. So that's really what we're looking for here, and Sniper's Mark as well. Then Bola Bola can knock them back into the back rows, so we can move the enemies around a lot with this team. Yeah, I'm surprised. Oh, I guess every ability can hit that second spot, which is why that's the most lit up, whereas almost everything can hit the back rows. The only thing that can't is Bola Bola, but it knocks enemies into the back row, so it's not really a huge concern. And then we have the heal, which doesn't target enemies at all, so that might also be why none of these are fully lit up. So that seems okay. We might want to make sure that our person in the 3rd spot can also hit the back rows, which, I mean, that tends to be something that we can do with our 3rd spot, but this is the area where we ran into trouble last time, as we functionally had someone in the 3rd spot who really wanted to be in the 2nd spot, and it made one of our characters almost completely useless. So let's look at Emberic and see what the deal is with where he can be and where he can attack enemies. Hound's Rush works from any of the back 3. That would be fine. Can target any enemy. Let's see. Bleed opponents, 1 point per round. And is it only bleed? No, it definitely has base damage as well. Extra damage versus marked. Okay, so also some mark synergies here. So that could work well with a very mark-centric team. That does seem to make sense. Target Whistle. Okay, another way to mark enemies. So tons and tons of ways to mark them. Can use it from anywhere, can use it on any enemy. Debuffs enemies to give them less protection, so they take more damage. Can heal self for, that is one thing we'd be sorely missing in this team, is it. Okay, no, we do have a little bit of healing with the Arbalist, I was going to say. Not a lot of healing, but you can heal anyone, not a ton, but a little bit. And then at least the Houndmaster can heal himself a little bit more. Then Blackjack, okay, so this is an ability that we would not be able to use if we put you in the 3rd spot. Because it's basically a melee ability and it's a stun ability, and I do like stun abilities. Okay, and bear in mind, the person who is currently in the 2nd spot is someone who also has a stun ability, but it's that stun ability that we were talking about that comes with a fairly significant downside. The one that, I mean, it's not a huge amount of light that we lose, but it's losing 5 light every time we use this ability, and it might be the ability that we use the most. So, hold on. Is that the only thing that we can't use if we move you into the 3rd spot? Because if it's basically a matter of choosing between you having access to a stun ability versus you having access to your stun ability, then we can basically pick favorites and say, you know, if we like this one, this stun ability more then this stun ability, then why not have you in the second spot? Because this one does not reduce our light. 90 accuracy, minus 65% damage, so it's lower damage. That's usually the case with stun abilities. Okay, Hands from the Abyss is theoretically higher damage. I'm not sure what their base damage is, comparatively speaking. 4 to 7 versus 4 to 7. Okay, so yeah, it's higher damage, but 90 accuracy versus 95 accuracy, higher damage, slightly less accurate. 9% crit is probably higher. That's pretty high. Yeah. So basically, it's just across the board, higher risk, higher reward on basically every single category. So, given how this is a newer team, I think maybe we do move you back into the third spot, have you in the second spot. Hold on. The fact that Marked for Death showed up once I put him in the party was kind of unsettling. Is there a reason for that? Because, you know, the fact that I just kind of moved a character in there and it said that they were marked for death was kind of alarming. Kind of made me think as though that was probably not something that we want to do. Hold on. If we do that, it doesn't happen? Is that saying that... Marked for death. It's the name of an ability? What the heck? What is this? Why are we marked for death? I don't understand. But we're not when we do it that way? Am I reading into this when I shouldn't be reading into this? It doesn't happen when we do it in this order. But it does when we do it in that order. What does that mean? Why? Why is the game threatening us? Why is the game giving us these grim signs? I mean, it would suggest that we probably don't want to do this. It seemed like it was slightly preferable to go in that order, but maybe not. It's very grim. Okay, still not really sure what to make of that, but I mean, I guess we can, in this not marked for death order that I actually don't like quite as much, we can give it a shot here. Means we are going with the higher risk, higher reward stun ability rather than the safer stun ability, which is usually the whole point of stun is to play it safe. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but I mean, I guess we can make it work. Hopefully, maybe, possibly. We're about to find out, I guess. Technically speaking, this is, I suppose, a lower risk dungeon here, as we have the Arbalist, who's a level 1 character, and the Bounty Hunter, who's a level 1 character, and other than that, some level 0s that we don't, perhaps, have much invested in, despite the fact that one of them is Amberic. What's up? How's it going? How are you? All characters that have not yet been named, theoretically could be renamed, yes, so we have, I mean, as things currently stand, that's also a good point. We have, right now, a party of 3 unnamed people. And just Amberic. Just chilling out over there. See, the thing is that, when we did this, that sounded concerning. I mean, we also have Steelwolf, who theoretically may be able to fill in a, I mean, he would really want to be in one of the front 2 spots, and that's, again, seeming to be the place that we have the most competition for. We seem to just really need people who prefer the back 2 spots. Just thought of Houdini as your character's name. Well, I mean, we can get this one started. And I mean, we do have an Amberic in here right now. But, then again, do we know what to expect in the Warrens? Not really. Oh, let's just do a quick check. Does anyone have any buffs or debuffs in the Warrens? You like when we're in high light. Okay. Nothing area specific there. You like the coves. Lower damage on range skills, and you do have at least some range skills. In fact, the primary skill you're going to use is going to be ranged. I mean, 5% might not be enough of a difference maker to actually affect the value of that damage, because 5% of 4 to 8 or whatever is less than 1. Yeah, you don't care about where we go. You're good in the coves, but we are not going there right now. We're not going to the Weald either. Okay, you know what? We're gonna try this. We're gonna see what happens. Our first time in the Warrens. Never been here before. Level 1, short dungeon. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? We just need to complete all room battles. For all we know, maybe there's just one room battle. Maybe we just need to finish a room battle once. It's gonna be the first big room that we encounter, and then we'll be fine. We'll be done. Maybe that's all we need. Oh. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it was telling us before. Hold on. Is that why it was saying mark for death? No, I still don't understand what that means. Let's not do the mark for death setup. Let's go this way. And then head out. Okay. So, oh. Wait, what? What? This is a thing? Dog treats for the Houndmaster? I assume this is because we're taking the Houndmaster and it wouldn't happen any other time. But that is pretty hilarious that there's a separate item for that. Greatly increases the Hound's vigor for a short time. I actually don't know what that means, though. Is this the equivalent of food for the Houndmaster? Does the Houndmaster just feed the doggo and not feed himself? And therefore, I mean, we can't buy additional dog treats. We can only buy additional food. So, not really sure what the deal is there. I think we probably will still. We'll load up on some food. Cut to at least 8, probably more like 10 or 12. At least one shovel. We've never been to this area before, so I think it might make sense to get a little aggressive with what we buy here, just to see what kind of stuff we might encounter. It does mean it's going to cost us a bit. We should obviously invest in some torches here, especially because we have someone who sounds like a buff. It does, but I guess it's a buff and it's not food. It's just a total independent thing from the food that we just got for free because we have the Houndmaster? I don't know. Yeah, we have an ability that reduces light, and it is an ability that we probably want to use pretty regularly, which means we're probably going to have to be extra mindful of when we're using our torches, and also probably just going to need more. Fortunately, they aren't that expensive, but I think we kind of need to get aggressive here. Now, that does mean that is a ton of torches. It is a short dungeon as well, so maybe that's overkill. It probably is, but I think we just need to find a way to get a victory here. We just need to find a way to get a victory here. So I think we're good to go. 12 food for 4 people means we can go with 2 hunger events and still have enough food remaining to do a little bit of healing if necessary. 1 shovel is not a lot, but then again, we don't really know how many shovel encounters we're going to run into. It does seem as though that tends to be the most common thing for us to find in terms of various types of obstacles, but then again, in a new area, who knows? And a little bit of the other stuff because, again, who knows? So let's start. If it would let me, it will let me embark? Question mark? Why won't you let me embark? I don't understand. Excuse me? Do we need to sell things back in order to head out? I'm getting a little clinking sound when I hover over this, but it's not letting me click. That is weird. I can't click on anything. Hold on, 1 second. Is this a more meta thing? Let me just see, like, Starkest Dungeon doing funky business here. What about now? There we go. There we go. Tab out, tab back in. Now we're good. I don't think this was a boss. But we will see. The Warrens is full of disease and blight in equal measure. Uh-oh. Come prepared to deal with sickness. Okay. Well, good to know. Wish we knew that initially.
They breed quickly down there in the dark. But perhaps we can slay them even faster.
Okay, so one other thing that we should consider here is the stat composition of our team, because one thing I did not look at was what our trap disarming capabilities are. The bounty hunter is good at it, 50%, or at least reasonably good at it. Occultist, 10%, is terrible at it. Houndmaster, 40%, okay, not great. Arbalist, 20%, not good. Okay, so definitely bounty hunter. Who will be doing that stuff. Bounty hunter is not that tanky. That, I think, is definitely the weakness of our team here, is we don't have that much healing, and we don't really have a natural tank. I think we have a lot of damage here, but not really somebody who fills the traditional role of the damage sponge. So that's I think perhaps going to be our most glaring weakness. What it sounded like we're going to experience is a whole bunch of statuses from our enemies, and maybe not quite as much in the way of direct damage, hopefully, because we might not be as good at dealing with that. But let's see. It is, fortunately, a pretty short dungeon. Looks completely linear, so that's also convenient as well. No scouting, at least not yet. Okay. Except, yes, we do get scouting, at least a little bit. Okay, so we do have... We've never seen these before, I don't think. I like how the doggo walks as well. What is this? Pile of scrolls. A bunch of scrolls. The cursive is sloppy and difficult to read. I have zero clue what we would use to guarantee that we can benefit from this object. I don't know, are they cursed, these scrolls? So we have to put holy water on them? Because otherwise I have no idea. I feel like I think we can take it, right? What could possibly go wrong? Apparently that. Apparently that. Also, wait, what? Did we have 2 curios? Oh, did we just not actually get... I don't think we actually got scouting here. We just happened to have a curio that popped up right next to us at the beginning, and so technically it was close enough that we were still able to see it on our map, even though we didn't get the scouting. So Moonshine Barrel, are we just gonna have our bounty hunter basically interact with all this stuff? We might need to play it a little bit safe. I'm now realizing, as we were saying before, because we don't really have tanks, if we do, rather than take stress, take damage from some of these curio encounters, then we might be in trouble. But we're gonna do it anyway, because it contains stashed treasures.
Handsome reward for a task well performed.
I mean, we probably don't really need the food or bandages, because at least the food, we loaded up big time on that preemptively. We are gonna have way more food than we need, I think. The bandages, that could potentially be beneficial. Let's look back at the map here. Also have no idea what traps look like in this area. He says as he walks onto a trap.
Ambushed by foul invention.
Okay, well, we did pick up a bandage. We could perhaps use said bandage. Elder Scrolls, perhaps? Perhaps. Okay, this is what our doors look like. We don't actually know what's in here. It is empty. Okay. We do get scouting this time. Now it's legit. Okay. Ooh. Alright, we've learned some things here. Curio, right when we get out. Trap. This time we know to expect it. We actually do have a good trap disarmor, but of course that requires that we see the trap. Battle with a curio. So we can't really skip any rooms because it's entirely linear. So we'll go in here. We'll need to finish the battle. We may or may not interact with the curio. Then this hallway is going to be super jam-packed. Obstacle, we have 1 shovel. So that's probably what we'll need to break through that. A battle, a curio. Again, just straightforward room battle with nothing else in that room. And I mean, that's pretty jam-packed with the between the trap to room battle with curio, to obstacle, to battle, to curio, to room battle. No rest there, and I mean, maybe that's the last room battle, in which case that's the last room we actually need to complete. But either way, only one way forward here. It's another set of stuffs. Let's see, and we don't have any battles in this area here. So we just thinking of torchlight, when and where we're gonna need to use that. We have 16 torches, which is an exorbitant amount for the small dungeon that we are in, so I think we can probably be pretty aggressive with that. What if we had the Arbalest go for this? Well, it is empty. I say that because she has technically the most HP, and I think the least stress as well. Okay, so now, bear in mind, the trap will be coming up, and it will be the bounty hunter that we want to try to disarm it. I still don't really know what it looks like. We walked onto one before. Is it this? It's this. Okay, disarmed. That's discreet. Okay, so we relieved some stress. That's good, because we did take a little bit earlier with our bounty hunter. But yeah, it looks like just a little bump in the ground. Right. I don't know what traps... Oh. Oh, we should clip that. We should totally clip that. But, okay. So this room will be a room battle with a curio. We have... This will be our first battle in these dungeons, so we don't really know what to expect. And Jer, thanks for gifting the sub. Very generous of you. Alright, let's hop in. What's the worst that could possibly happen, right? What's the worst that could possibly happen? I feel like... Have we seen some of these types of enemies before? I don't know. I have seen other people play Darkest Dungeon before years ago, even if I had not yet played myself. Some of these guys look familiar. So I think, what can we learn here? We can probably safely assume that this swine wretch is going to be a stress stealer. It's really quick. At 8 speed and 13 dodge, it's going to be pretty hard to hit. Actually, 12 HP is, I think, more than we saw from some of the other enemies over here. So this might be a high priority to try to take this guy out. We have the swine drummer. The fact that he's a drummer sounds like he does things that are not necessarily directly combat related. And he is toward the back, so maybe this is also a stress-dealing guy rather than a damage-dealing guy primarily. So that might also make him a high priority. Then we have the Swine Slasher. Pretty sure this is going to be one of the more standard enemies. Does have some protection, a little bit, but just 8 HP. So hopefully we can take this guy out fairly quickly and efficiently. 5 speed also, not slow. Then even this guy, the big burly swine chopper, is still at 3 speed. So none of these guys are slow. 15 protection a little bit, but not quite as much as the other guy. And 21 HP. So definitely still gonna be the tankiest. No sub emote for hype celebrating. Do we have? I don't know what the closest equivalent would be. What do we have? Also, I admittedly have not firmly established which Darkest Dungeon emotes fall under the follower versus sub categories and what have you. So it might be changing a little bit from week to week, but alas. As for what we're looking to do here, we have the Occultist first, so it's our first time using him. What is the deal with him? How much damage does he pack? Also, what are these guys? They're considered beasts? Okay. How much damage are we talking here? 4 to 7 at best? Yeah, still working on the Darkest Dungeon emotes for sure as well. So if you guys have ideas, I mean, we did put in a lot, but I think some of them are, just things like food, starvation, which are kind of just like really simple. The It's a Trap one, although thematically sounds cool and is sort of a meme in and of itself. At the same time, it doesn't look very good. So that one I think could definitely be replaced by something else. Or we could find a better trap icon to replace that one. Anyways, as for what this guy's gonna do, who are we actually going for here? Because might we go with the Daemon's Pull and try to get one of these stress dealers up front where it might not be as capable of doing the stress stuff and maybe in the process crippling it a bit? That could be useful. I feel like this guy is probably the best option for that, although he does have higher evasion, higher dodge chance than this guy does. So it might be a little bit tougher to pull it off. That's one option. Alternatively, we can stun. It will lower our light, but we can do it on anyone in the front 3 rows. And these guys are so fast, they're almost certainly going to go next, regardless of who we're talking about. And the thing is, in the past, what we tended to do was we tended to prioritize going after stress dealers on the assumption that with our tankier characters in the front, they could take a few hits, and we'd still be able to heal them off, and we wouldn't have to worry about that too much. Problem this time is we don't really have any tanks. So if we prioritize these stress dealers, then these guys get a few hits on us, and we might take some pretty serious damage pretty quickly. So that is a concern. That is a concern. Especially in a short dungeon like this, where these are some lower priority characters that maybe we're okay with them finishing this dungeon with a little bit more stress than would be ideal, and we just say that, okay, you know, we'll either have them sit out for a little bit or, you know, have them relieve some stress in town, and that's not the end of the world, because it's probably not urgent that we get any of these guys immediately back into the action after this dungeon. Maybe we go that route, because otherwise we might find that somebody's going to die here. Because with 8 power on the Swine Slasher, this might be the easiest target for us to kill before it hits us, especially if we stun. It does do a little bit of damage on our stun. So I normally, with another team, a tankier team, I would say maybe focus on these guys first, but I think we might lean a little bit more toward prioritizing the damage dealers over the stress dealers, at least in this specific circumstance. 1 damage is the low end of the range, but it does stun, and I think we're going to see, wow, we lucked out on some of our speed rolls here. But what can we do? We can mark to set up more damage. You cannot stun, can you? You can bullet and move some people back. It does not stun, right? Does some damage, but not a lot. You know, similarly to what we were saying before, by moving these guys up to the front, we might be able to mess with these guys if we bump them back. That might actually be our best form of defense, is messing with their ordering. Okay, one of them resisted the move. Okay, a little bit of damage, resisted something, I'm not entirely sure what, but did get marked, which means that now Amberic is more likely to get targeted, and Amberic is not the tankiest of characters. So that's a little bit of a potential issue here. And so you're stunned, although you are the weakest, so you would be the easiest to get rid of here. You have not yet gone. Let's see, can our bounty hunter stun as well? I think he can. Uppercut can stun. Front 2 spots, so we could stun you. We probably go for that. I admittedly did not check to see how much resistance you have to those things. Vomit is definitely stress, except we dodged it, so that's huge. That is huge, yeah. Just a quick check for some resistance. 10%, 25%. So yeah, that was more likely for him to resist that. 10% for these guys. And now we're learning a little bit more about their abilities. Oh, and they do, with those icons there, also indicate what the abilities do. Like Vomit, we can see that's the stress icon. So yes, we pretty much confirmed that this is a stress dealer, the Swine Wretch. And then Drums of Debilitation, mark and debuff targets. Haven't seen these guys' abilities, but I imagine they're more the damage dealers, as we were saying before. Then Amberic, we put him in the 3rd row. We really want him to be in the 2nd row, but by putting him in the 3rd row, it means that he does not have access to the stun ability, unfortunately. We can use Hound Rush for attack, damage, and bleed. Actually, pretty solid damage. What's up, Anor? How's it going? How are you? Little bit of a late start today, but doing some Darkest Dungeon. Mostly a team of new characters here. The one exception, or actually, I should say mostly a team of unnamed characters. The one exception being Amberic here. Not a lot of tanks. More of a DPS type of team composition. The Bounty Hunter and the Arbalest have been out before, but no one else has. Our first time using the Occultist and Amberic. So Amberic has decent damage, we're seeing. Jared, thanks for gifting the sub to Honora as well. Very generous of you. So I think with Amberic, let's see. I mean, technically with the bleed, it's what, 1 damage on bleed for 3 rounds? Technically speaking, we have guaranteed enough damage to destroy the Swine Slasher if it hits, but this guy is stunned, so he's kind of the lowest priority. So that's not amazing. We can mark. I'm not sure if this is a long enough encounter to warrant that. We could heal self, which I think it's too early to be prioritizing that. I think we probably just go for the damage now. I think you're gonna be... We might... Do we save you for last? On one hand, you're a damage dealer, and we were saying we don't have great resistance to damage dealers. On the other hand, because we don't have a lot of HP. On the other hand, you have a lot of HP, so it's gonna be hard to take you out. Whereas you would be easier to get rid of, even if you might not be quite as high of a priority. I guess we'll still go for you. That crit certainly helps, though. Oh, okay. Ball and chain. We dodged. Huge. Absolutely huge. You're stunned. That bleed will almost be enough to kill you. Not quite enough, though. These guys are fast, though, so they're going to go quickly. That is a lot of stun for Anbaric. Resisted. Those abilities, and there's the bleed as this guy goes. Drum of Doom. Stress on everyone. A little bit of damage, I think, as well. So, yeah, these guys, I mean, as we were saying, under normal circumstances, yes, you would probably prioritize going for these guys. You need one more damage. One more damage to get rid of you, because the bleed will deal another point of damage on the next turn. The bleed lasts for, I think, 3 turns, right? So I think technically... Whoa. Really long bleed. So technically we do have enough damage already to take out the Swine Drummer, but at this point we're relying on that slow damage over time from the bleed, which is probably not great. And Varric is it's not feeling great right now, but maybe that does mean... Oh, well... I mean, we should commit, right? Once we weaken an enemy, we should commit to trying to take them out. We can collect bounty on either of these two on the front. Neither of them have a bounty on them, but it is a decent chance of having enough damage to finish off the Swine Slasher here. With the mark, the uppercut can stun. You got stunned last turn, so you still have some stun resistance. Honestly, it might still be worth doing this. Is there any downside to this stun? So we have seen a lot of our stun abilities do have downsides. Doesn't look like it. Not only stun, but potentially knockback, and we were trying to potentially mess with their order earlier. So I think we go for that. It's probably not going to stun you, but it might get you into killing range for someone else. It has a higher chance of stunning you. I think we give it a try. Except I did not realize it only hits one enemy. I, for some reason, convinced myself that it was going to hit both of them. I did not look at that closely enough, and if I had realized that, I definitely would have targeted you instead, because as we said, you're not as likely to get stunned. Anbaric, you have the damage. You can kill if you hit here. You can kill if you hit here. Not so in this case. So who do we want to get rid of? You technically are going to get destroyed by the bleed, but it's going to take 2 turns. We're relying exclusively on that. You're in the 3rd row where you might not be able to do much. So I think... I think we leave this guy for the moment. And we prioritize one of you two. In which case, we probably can't finish you off. You've already taken your turn, whereas you haven't, though. And again, what else could we do to you? You've not yet taken your turn. You could potentially stun Swine Chopper if you outspeed. The Arbalist doesn't have a stun, but could potentially move him back. I think we just go for the kill. I think we just go for the kill.
Give them no quarter.
Leave a little bit of stress, which Anbaric needed. Okay, here is the Arbalist. Did outspeed you. Doesn't have stun, but can potentially knock you back. I think we will try... Well, then again, it's not going to be a huge factor against you. Sniper shot cannot hit the front row, though, so we actually don't have much of a choice. It's either mark someone, knock back, or heal Anbaric, who is on 16 HP. We have a lot of extra food, so assuming everyone survives this encounter, we can get pretty aggressive healing people with food. So I think we might actually go for the mark on this tanky enemy, because we have lots of people who can benefit with extra damage from that mark. I think we go for it. Except, well, no, it can't hit the front row once again. It has to be. Has to be this. Either that or heal. Still some damage. Okay, and now we could, with Hands from the Abyss, reduce our light a bit, but stun you. Alternatively, we can pull you in closer. We don't really want to do that to a melee character. Sacrificial Stab. We're not Eldritch, but I think this is our highest damage ability. It's 3 to 6, high crit chance. I think we're probably still looking for the stun here, because you have not yet taken your turn, and that would be really useful if we could pull that off. So I think we go for it. It does stun. It does lower our light a little bit. Dodge that. You're stunned. They have some fast characters, but we will still outspeed them, which is really nice. So now, I don't think you're a huge concern all the way in the back. I think now, probably functionally just bought ourselves more time to go after the Swine Wretch now. And since we weren't able to mark you, I mean, we weakened you a little bit. Might be able to take you out now. And we could proceed to stun you as well. You have very low stun resistance. We're going to further lower our light, but once again, short dungeon, maybe that's fine. Unless if they dodge it. And then, okay, we dodge that though. This does hurt, and stuns our Arbalest, who's not yet taken her turn. That is not a sight we like to see. That might be the first time we've gotten stunned, to be honest. Maybe. Okay. So, now you're the only one who hasn't gone, and we were just saying you're probably the lowest priority. I think we're probably still looking to go after this Swine Wretch, though. I think that's the priority here. And it does seem as though Amberic is technically our best damage dealer. So this is probably the best way to make it happen. This guy is evasive, though. That 13 dodge is really high. We do get the hit, though. And we do get the bleed. Okay. Now we have our Bounty Hunter, who is best at targeting the first few rows here. Can use Finish Him. Whoa. Talk about damage. That's a lot. It would be enough to finish you off. Not as much on you, and not enough to finish you off. I think we try to finish the job here. And we do.
Is broken. Maintain the offensive.
Okay, still a decent move, even in the back spot there. Okay, but I think we've gotten rid of their fastest characters here. You're at speed 5, speed 3. So we're more likely to outspeed them at this point. And Barrack, at this point, you definitely do have the damage, if it hits, to take this guy out. So I think that is probably the plan. There we go.
The fiend falls, a faint hope
The stress relief for Barrack, also definitely quite useful. Now the question is, do we try to get clever? Do we try to get clever? This guy does not have any stun resistance on this turn. We could potentially stun with either of these two characters if they outspeed. You're 3 speed, you're 5 speed, so you'll likely win that race. You're 6 speed. So these guys both likely to go before this guy goes. So maybe we can afford to take one turn here to heal and Barrack just a bit. Maybe we try that. Okay. Now we'll go for a stun, and technically speaking, we would probably prefer the more sure thing stun from our Bounty Hunter, where it's more accurate, I think less damage, but higher accuracy, and it doesn't reduce our light further, which is not a huge factor, but if we have the choice, might be a good way to go. In which case, what are we looking at? We're looking at the, I guess, the Sacrificial Stab, I suppose. Ooh, just 3. Not great, and it does outspeed us. Yikes, that is the risk we took, except we still dodged it. So not a huge deal. And then that means Finish Him is 4 to 8. Like Bounty is 5 to 10. Crit chance 11% versus crit chance 9%. So yeah, this does seem like a pretty high damage team composition we have here. We can stun if we really want to, but I don't think we need to. I mean, sure. Technically, we might have just made it a lot more difficult for us to target this guy, but the primary reason for that was because I think we might still be able to do perhaps one more turn of healing. Perhaps on the Bounty Hunter, actually, at this point. And at least with one character. And then probably use the Arbalist to finish this guy off. I think that can work. Looking for a high number and no bleed, except we did not get a high number and we did get the bleed. So that did not really work out all that well, and made me wonder, before I did that, I was like, maybe it makes sense, rather than taking the high risk, high reward heal character, go for more of a sure thing with someone like the Arbalist, but alas, it did not work. Okay, this guy is still stunned, which does technically mean we still have another turn here, but as we saw before, when we played around too much, we did actually have our opponent get some reinforcements, and we're perhaps risking that if we prolong this for much more. Then again, Amberic should still be able to take his turn. So, and with 3 HP, Amberic should be able to finish him off. So I think we can still safely heal once here. The question is, do we prioritize that on the Bounty Hunter or Amberic? 19 HP versus 20. You've taken 5 damage, whereas you've only taken 2, and you're going to take more from the bleed. So I think we probably do still heal you. Not a huge difference maker. But now Amberic to finish the job. No, that's not what we want to see. Well, I mean, you are still stunned. As long as there are no reinforcements, we're cool. As long as there are no reinforcements, we're cool. We could, once again, try to heal with this guy, but that feels like that might be asking for trouble. Does seem like that is what we have seen here. I mean, once again, 3 speed, we're likely to outrun you with some of our characters. We have 5 here, we have 5 here, we have 5 here. Surely somebody's going to outspeed you, which means we might still have 1 turn to burn here. In which case, once again, if we're looking at this guy for the heals, then it does come with some strings attached, so maybe that's not all that necessary. Maybe we just get the job done here. Go for the stab.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
And finish this thing. Okay. So some gold, some citrin, and a portrait. We'll take all that stuff. There is this thingamabob, which I think we've encountered before. An Eldritch Altar, dedicated to unholy abominations. Perhaps great power lies within. Never in doubt. We have the damage for sure. The question is just, can we take hits? Because not so easily. I think we've seen this before, and we might have considered putting a holy water on it, but I was concerned that by doing so, we might trigger a similar encounter to what we did previously, in which we summoned Heatlock. So let's maybe not risk that right now. Maybe we could get a benefit from it, but maybe we would instead get a huge downside. Is Steelwolf Jr. still breathing? Steelwolf Jr. is sitting on the sidelines at the moment, so Steelwolf Jr. is totally fine right now. We considered bringing Steelwolf Jr. out here, but right now this is mostly a team of unnamed people, with the one exception being Amberic. Otherwise, the Arbalist, who was sitting on the sidelines for a long time but has gone in one previous dungeon. Same with the Bounty Hunter. The Occultist is totally new, and Amberic, this is, despite being a named character, the first time that Amberic has participated. Okay, but let's head out. We know there's a lot more left to come here, including what is, yes, okay, the same type of obstacle that we encountered in previous types of dungeons, one that does require a shovel. We do have precisely 1 shovel.
Such blockages are unsurprising. These tunnels predate even the earliest settlers.
So, we're hoping that that is the only such obstacle like that. Otherwise, it's going to be a little difficult for us to clear that stuff. We just won't be able to unless we do it by hand, which is going to cost a lot of stress. We do know there's going to be a battle coming up soon. So let's light things back up here. And we do technically have 16 food, and we are almost halfway through the dungeon. So I think we can probably get a little aggressive. Oh, oops. I mean, yes, Amberic did need a little bit of a heal, but I was thinking more on the Bounty Hunter. Why not, you know? We can afford it, especially before we go into this fight. Ooh, okay, we've seen these enemies before. I like that it makes me feel a little more comfortable about what we're dealing with here, so we know you're a stress person and can also move some of our characters from different positions. You're gonna deal damage, debuff, and potentially bleed, and you just deal damage. So You are definitely the easiest to get rid of. At 8 power, no dodge, and low speed. You're kind of fast, a little bit tankier, no dodge. You are faster and much more elusive. So you are definitely the most difficult to deal with. However, might we try pulling you into the melee row, or the front row, to mess with you? No worries, Steel. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good night. I think we try pulling in the Acolyte here and disrupting her. Okay, Bounty Hunter is still bleeding a little bit for what it's worth. And we might even be able to finish off this Acolyte right off the bat here. Finish her is 1 damage shy. Collect Bounty could, if it high rolls, finish with just 1 hit. It's possible. I think is there an accuracy difference? There's not. Otherwise we can uppercut and stun you. Slightly more accurate, lower damage, but maybe that's worth doing. There's stun. Oh, it knocks you back, but I mean, we'll take it for the stun, because you would have gone just then. Okay, now for Emberic. We've at least temporarily dealt with the Acolyte. You have enough damage to finish her off if this hits. You actually do if you high roll because of the bleed. So that is worth considering. Same here. This is basically a matter of, do you prioritize the Bone Rabble or the Acolyte? Now, technically speaking, our Arbalest has not yet gone, and our Arbalest is incapable of hitting the front row, whereas Emberic can. So I think we might have Emberic target the Bone Rabble and have the Arbalest target the Acolyte. I think that's probably the plan. The Arbalest might not have quite enough damage to finish you in 1 hit. So if we double down and have both characters go for you, then that might be a little bit of a safer option. Maybe we try that. Unless if you dodge, because you are the most elusive of all the characters. Sniper shot is 5 to 9, so it is possible. And also, I think our most accurate ability here. So there we go. Acolyte dealt with. Does mean we're going to take some damage here. We prioritize dealing with stress rather than... Bleed did trigger. Rather than avoiding damage. That was the risk we took. Oh, they're going first this round as well. Bleed again. Ooh. Means you are taking 2 damage per turn from bleed. That is gonna hurt from a character that does not have a lot of resistance, or not a lot of survivability here. So let's see. What if we try to stun some of these guys and deal a little bit of damage in the process, especially since you haven't gone yet, and then might buy us just enough time to get a heal on you. It does lower our light a little bit, but I think we're gonna be fine in that regard. So now you've been temporarily dealt with. Emberic can only heal himself. So I think it's gonna have to be the Arbalest that heals our Occultist. So Emberic, you're just 100% going for the damage here, I think. And so 4 to 7 with a chance to bleed. Let's do it. 5, and ooh, resist the bleed though. Okay, then for the Bounty Hunter, you might have gotten it low enough that the Bounty Hunter can still finish it off. It's possible. It is possible. Or we could try for another stun here, once again. I mean, I suppose. Why not? Because it worked. Both enemies stunned. That means definitely time to sneak in a quick heal here. Stun. And we go first. And you're still stunned. So maybe we use Emberic to finish this guy off. Because it is actually guaranteed if we land the hit because of the bleed. Actually, then again, I don't know if we can bleed you because you're a skeleton. You have 100% resistance to bleed. So, tell you what, we got the low roll, and that was significant because now we can't kill you. But we could still use you to get the killing blow here. And relieve a little bit of stress in the process. I think, especially since you're stunned, yeah, Bounty Hunter can still hit 3rd row. I think we'll use the heal once again on you. Because we can. You're stunned, no big deal. And then Bounty Hunter can, I mean, honestly, we might be able to sneak in another heal or 2. We really want to, and especially since this is not insignificant damage from the bleed, so we'd like to find other ways to cancel that out, and even the bounty hunter could use a little bit of heal as well. So when you are low enough that you're theoretically fairly easy to get rid of, we could potentially mark you. What if we mark you now and just make it easier to take you out on a subsequent turn? Assuming that you don't go first, and, well, we'll dodge, so no worries. We do get a little bit more time to heal here. And now we're just looking for a way to bide some time with the Occultist. Don't really want to use the heal and potentially bleed ability because that's kind of potentially going to counteract the healing that we're trying to do right now. So what if we just attack a corpse, maybe? Okay, bounty hunter, not a healer. Ideally, probably would have been the person who would destroy you. What we really want is can we can't have you use food to heal someone else. That's not a thing. What we really want is for the the Arbalest to go next, use her heal on the Occultist, then have Amberic go last, and Amberic gets the finishing blow, because Amberic can only heal himself, can't heal other characters, whereas the Arbalest obviously can heal other characters. So it's unfortunate sequencing here. We might just need to go for the kill after all. I guess we have a little bit of time. We can still stall for here. Alright, that's not the order we wanted. Yeah, okay, so that does... It was at least worth checking, but it does, I think, mean that Amberic is going to just go for the kill now. And there it is. Okay, a little bit of gold.
These nightmarish
a little bit more
creatures
food.
can be felled. They can be beaten.
And tell you what, I mean, as I was saying before, with still 16 food, why not just heal up our Occultist here and not quite maxed out unless we throw another food out, but I think that should certainly help us out here. We have one more curio in this area. Just bought Darkest Dungeon, is that what you mean, Jer? Ooh. Oh no, that's not good. Okay, so his quirk, believes he's possessed by demons, is what forced him into activating the pile of skulls without us having the chance of seeing if there's any way to dispel it. So we didn't really know what this meant. I mean, I assumed it was gonna, of course, at some point in time, come back to bite us, but now for the first time we've actually seen, and it just led to a little bit of additional stress. Not that much, fortunately. But now we know we're looking at just a plain and simple room battle here. Less than $5 on Summer Sale. Seems like a pretty good deal. Okay. Let's light it back up a little bit here. And then hop in. Oh, we might have wanted to heal our bounty hunter. He had taken a little bit of damage. And we have surprised them, though. So we will go first here. And we have learned a fair bit about these guys since our previous encounter. So we know these guys are pretty much exclusively stress dealers, but I think we've seen they can do a whole lot of that. And they have a very high dodge and very high speed, which makes it hard to prevent them from at least getting 1 or 2 rounds of that off. These guys got rid of you pretty quickly last time, right? Well, we bumped you in the back and you were still able to deal some damage to us. You stunned us once or twice. Ball and chain. Okay, I think this guy is still technically the lowest threat. Then again, conversely, he's also probably the easiest to get rid of. Which does make it a bit of a tough decision. Do you go for just the, oh, you know, we could probably pretty safely remove one guy, even if he's not a huge difference maker to get rid of? Or do you say, well, we might not be able to finish you off, but it would be a very big deal if we did, type of situation? I think, given how everyone is going to go before these guys, we can at least take a chance on getting rid of one of these swine wretches. And I think the third spot is going to be the easiest one to go for because the bounty hunter can't hit the back. So let's go after you. 6 damage, got the bleed. So it will take 1 turn, or 1 point of bleed damage when it takes its turn. So it means we functionally only need 5 damage here, which we are guaranteed to get if this hits, and it does. enough to finish you off altogether. So that's one fewer stress dealer. That's great. Now, we still have the Occultist and the Bounty Hunter. And at this point, we know the Bounty Hunter can't hit you. We could... see, it pulls you 2 spots. Deals a little bit of damage if it hits. So it would, what, get you up to the 2nd row? Do we know if it can still vomit from the 2nd row? Did we try doing that previously? I don't remember if we did. Does that shut it down? It does get it into attacking range for the Bounty Hunter. Which, honestly, might still be worth doing. This Bounty Hunter does have a lot of damage, so assuming this hits and deals 2 to 4 damage, dropping this guy down to 8 to 10, I think it's at least possible we could destroy it before it gets a chance to take its turn, and that is perhaps worth taking that risk. The biggest downside, I think, is just the evasiveness that this character has. But we do land the hit. It's 3 damage. So you're down to 9 HP, which means collect bounty at 5 to 10 damage is capable, but not guaranteed. We could stun, although, with our uppercut and knock you back into the back row, but more importantly, just buy ourselves some additional time. Maybe that's actually the best answer here, except it does dodge. Ugh. And there is the vomit. It can do it from the 2nd spot. It does hit. It hits the Arbalest, and it is 9 stress. Dodge that. That's good. But you can stun. And except we dodge. You're very fast. You're probably going first once again. That's a crit. That's not good. And did we get afflicted with some kind of sickness here? For a second there, it looked like we saw the disease pop up. Yes. Yes, we did. Minus 20% max HP? That sounds terrible. That sounds like a really bad thing. Okay. We did hear that there were supposedly a lot of diseases here. And now we have seen them. I wonder if that only happens if the vomit crits, or if it can just be a random chance of happening regardless of whether it crits or not. But we're on the Bounty Hunter now, which means we have damage. Which means we would probably like to go after you, although then again, we do theoretically have the capability of marking someone, which could potentially set ourselves up for better damage. And does it give higher accuracy? Let's see. Minus 10 protection, so basically 10% extra damage. Does not deal any damage. Gives the Bounty Hunter extra speed. I feel like 10% damage is not reason enough to do that, though. I mean, why increase 10% damage for 2, maybe 3 hits when you could just get a whole bunch of upfront damage, which I think is going to be way more substantial than the incremental damage you get from having marked that enemy. I mean, if it gave accuracy as well, then that would be useful, but I at least don't see anything that suggests that it does. I mean, intuitively, it feels like that would be a possibility, but I don't see anything, at least explicitly stated, to do that. So I think we just collect the bounty and try to take out the Swine Wretch. Low end on the damage, though. If it hits, it is guaranteed to kill. Or we could have tried to stun with the Bounty Hunter, I suppose. That's what we tried to do last turn, and it didn't work. If it high rolls, it can still stun. Or rather, it can still kill. Maybe that's kind of the best of both worlds. It will lower our light, but I think we're fine in that regard. It does hit, and it does stun. Okay, we'll live with that. And we'll live with that as well. Okay, so now it's Amberic's turn. Amberic, no damage, okay. So yeah, or has not taken any damage, I should say. Crazy thing is, although this enemy is stunned and not gonna... Yeah, no, we should wait. We should wait before we go for this one. I think we'll go for... We can technically get enough damage with the damage over time to destroy this Swine Slasher even without a crit, if we high roll. So we might go for that. It's how many turns of bleed? 3? So technically, yes, that is enough. But it will take some time. We do get stunned by this guy and take a little bit of damage, which is unfortunate. But now still not sure how we want to deal with you, because you're not going to take your next turn, but the problem is, because you're so fast, if we don't deal with you right now, then you may still take your turn before anyone else takes their turn, and we have not really shut you down until you're dead. So that's my concern there. I mean, we're either going for you or we're not. This guy has lower accuracy. I think the Arbalest has the highest accuracy, so technically if we are going to try to take you out, it probably should be Arbalest, because it doesn't matter how much damage we have. It's all about the accuracy against a relatively evasive enemy. So maybe instead we try to take out one of these guys. You can't... Maybe we stun you. You have more stun resistance, but it does work. There's the stun on you. Was hoping we'd get the chance to hit you before you took your turn, but I mean, it didn't deal damage, it missed, and the bleed continues to whittle away at it, so, I mean, technically speaking, if it just misses every time, we don't even need to address it. But I think now we're looking at the Bounty Hunter probably going after you. You are stunned, so that actually does mean we get a damage buff here. So I think we probably seize on that opportunity. What's up, Infinite Dave? How are you? It is a mark team for sure. We have not done that much in the way of marking because it just hasn't felt like we've had big enough enemies to warrant that. Although the Swine Chopper has made me question at times whether that might be worth doing, and this could be a time to make that happen. The thing is, at the same time, Finish Him does do extra damage to stun targets, which is also very tempting. Let's see, so that's 6 to 11. This is 5 to 10, so yeah. Finish Him is higher damage, or we set up the mark. Just feels like this is maybe not the right time to do that when we can get the extra damage on a stun target, because 11 is pretty sweet. And now, within Barrack, see, you're at 7 HP. If we high roll, we can just outright destroy you. We get 6 damage, the bleed will destroy you. 5 or 4, you're not quite dead, but the bleed will eventually technically take you out, and you're stunned on your next turn anyway, so we're basically getting a free additional turn worth of bleed. Yeah, actually, in truth, that means if we get even a 5, you're gonna die to bleed before you get the chance to go again. So that looks pretty good. And it's 6. So this guy's going down. And then the Arbalest, we were saying, is the most accurate, so we should probably use you to target this guy. Okay. Maybe a little overkill.
A death by inches.
There's the death by bleed. And Arbalest actually cannot hit the front row, for what it's worth. Oh, actually, with Bolo, we can. We can, okay. We're fine. We technically may have been able to sneak in a heal or two there.
Remind
the other could have kind of used it.
Confidence is a slow and insidious killer.
Is that the first time we've heard this line? Because I think it might be. And it is such an amazing line. Let's see, what do we get here? Some monies of a few varieties. This is new. Agility Whistle for the Houndmaster, which we obviously have a Houndmaster right now. Plus 4 dodge, plus 1 speed, minus 20 debuff resistance. Let's take a look at our Houndmaster. Definitely take it. But do we equip it, is the question. So it's... Can we equip it here? Or can we only equip it when we're setting up for a subsequent dungeon? Because 5 speed, 10 dodge. Quite elusive, actually. Add 4 more dodge and 1 more speed. Yeah, we did see America's dodge a lot of hits, right? I do like the speed a lot. Having I mean, I hesitate to say guaranteed, but the high probability of being able to either hit and destroy enemies before they attack you, or stunning them to buy yourself a little more time. I mean, it just means you're taking less damage, you're taking less stress. It's so nice. So I do like the speed a lot. My hesitation here is primarily because we've seen this is an area where the enemies have lots of debuffs. So normally I would definitely say that seems like that's worth it. On this occasion, in this specific location, I'm asking myself, might this be the one exception to that? Possibly. But maybe we try it out, because 14 dodge and 6 speed is pretty sweet. Okay, and no additional scouting here. We have no idea what we're getting ourselves into now. We did take a little bit of damage on both the Bounty Hunter and the Arbalist, and we still have not yet encountered any hunger situations, and we still have 14 food in what is a pretty darn small dungeon remaining here. So I think, why not? And technically, at the end of the dungeon, we can sell food. Do we still sell food back as well, like we do any other resource? Possibly. I think it's pretty cheap, though. It's probably not worth all that much. We are also running out of inventory space. Might as well just get a little more HP. Especially because we have no idea what this is going to be. Okay, we should technically be on the Bounty Hunter, because if we do encounter a trap, he's the best at disarming them. We don't know if we're going to encounter a trap, and they are pretty subtle in this area. Just dodge the debuffs, right? Whoa, well. 72 in the way of light, so technically this is a slightly lower light battle. And we have seen these guys before. Bone Rabble is not too much of a concern. This guy is probably the least threatening. Stress, damage, and bleed. And a little bit tankier. Stumbling Scratch. I don't remember what that does, though. Looks like that's just straightforward damage, based on the lack of indicators next to it. Okay, so we did outspeed you. You're 7 speed. Wait, who do we have? You're 6. So sometimes we'll outspeed there. You're 5. We have a bunch of people who are solid, but not amazing speed. 5, 6, and what have you. So it's possible that even these quick people we can outspeed on occasion. So for you, I think we want to try to target you. What are we going for? The reason why I often hesitate on the marks is just it feels like it's never fast enough. And I know in some ways that's kind of a trap, right? Where it's like, well, Lids, if you mark them, then you're going to take them out more quickly. Yes, but it does also mean you're sacrificing a turn in which you're not dealing damage. When, if an enemy only takes 1 or 2 hits to take out, you probably don't need to mark them. So it's probably still overkill here. Like, a finish him is not enough unless it crits, though. So it would probably be a 2-hit situation. Can't hit you with Collect Bounty anyway. Uppercut could stun one of these guys, but I mean, it is nice to lead off with an uppercut. You're kind of fast. So if we could stun you before you take your turn, as we were just saying before, that is a useful thing to do. I think it's what? We have 2 6s. The Occultist is a 6, and then post buff from the Trinket, and Barrack is also a 6. I think, you know, it's certainly possible we might still outspeed this guy with our next character, but maybe we go for the stun there. On you. There we go, and knock you back, and I'm not sure that the Acolyte can do as much in that, and he would have gone next, in fact, so that did work out very well for us. Now for Barrack, I think it is definitely time to go after the Acolyte. 4 to 7 damage. Bleed is not enough to take her out, but it should be enough to get her into kill range for someone else, one would think. Mark for the dodge debuff or the protection debuff. Yeah, like a minus 20% protection. So they take 20% extra damage. I suppose it does also give additional bonuses to some abilities, at least for the Bounty Hunter, and for the Arbalist as well, right? So it's not just the 20% extra damage, because I look at this and I say, okay, 20% extra damage when we're dealing about 5-ish damage per hit means we're dealing 1 extra damage. Would I rather have several subsequent attacks deal 1 extra damage, or would I rather deal 4 to 7 damage? I'd probably rather just deal 4 to 7 damage. I could totally see, once we start encountering bigger enemies that have more HP, that take more turns to take out, at that point, absolutely, 100%, mark them, But when we're talking about normal enemies like this, who, for the most part, we can deal with in 2-ish hits, just feels like that's, you know, the setup is not necessary. Which I'm sure is going to be perfect timing for that to backfire on me, but I just said that. You can still use the stressful incantation there, but you missed. There's the dodge. The dodge we were just talking about. Okay, so now the Bone Rabble's the only character that is not yet gone on their side. We still have the Arbalist. Arbalist can hit the second row, so maybe we try to use the Arbalist to get rid of the Acolyte. It's a possibility, and we might go for the stun on you. It is going to make our torch a little bit darker, but I think we can settle for that. Honestly, might have also just been able to go for the damage, and if it hit, it might have been able to kill you because you have just 8 HP and no protection. But now I think we're just going sniper shot, and not guaranteed to kill, but remember, she is going to take 1 damage from the bleed on her next turn. So that means functionally we only need to deal 6 damage, so... Oh, but the dodge. But the dodge. You will get your turn in, and you will hit us. And you will go first, as we probably expected. This time, we dodge again! And Barrack with the clutch dodges. Okay. So, now you're likely to go next. You're a little bit damaged. In the third row, can you still do Rend for the old gods? Or are you at stumbling scratch territory, which is theoretically not as much of a threat? Possibly. We could also, once again, try to get a stun off here. Maybe for the Bone Rabble, and then just try to deal damage to get rid of the Acolyte. You are stunned. And now I think that means we can focus pretty much entirely on these two. The Arbalist does still have the highest accuracy, so we probably would prefer to have the Arbalist be the one that focuses on you, because you do have a high dodge chance. In which case, and Barrack probably looking to weaken the Brawler a little bit. But Barrack's missing like crazy. Bounty Hunter. I mean, this is almost a sure thing, but again, low priority. It's stunned, and it's the least threatening enemy. That's guaranteed to be enough if it hits. It's just you have the lower accuracy. Arbalist, higher accuracy, but technically speaking, the damage range might not be enough, so maybe we just give this a shot here, because it's definitely going to do the trick. Relieve a little bit of stress, and now the Arbalist can instead focus on you. Or, I mean, given how you're stunned, could potentially sneak in a little heal here. I'm not sure this is necessarily the best time. I think we just go for the damage and try to finish this encounter up as quickly as possible. This guy has been hard for us to hit. It is stumbling scratch when he's all the way back there, and we dodged once again. There's the stun. And then Barrack goes next, and Barrack, we need you to hit, buddy. We need you to hit. 9 HP, 4 HP. That means you are guaranteed to kill if you hit. And the Arbalist cannot hit the front row, and the Arbalist might go next. So we probably do want to go for the Bone Rabble, even if it's a lower priority. Does relieve some stress. He does go next, though. That's unfortunate, except we dodge once again. He's doing a bunch of dodging, and we are doing a bunch of dodging from all of his attacks, except now he's in the front row. I did not remember that moves him up. Okay, we can still use Bola, I suppose. It's lower damage. Still hits for 4, though. That's not bad. And Bounty Hunter, basically anything will do. Might as well, I guess, go for the stun. And potentially buy ourselves time. It does mean that, technically speaking, it's not going to kill. Anything else would have done the trick. But now we have an extra turn to work with, so it does mean that theoretically we have bought ourselves a little bit of time for healing. Just would prefer not to do it with you. So maybe we crit a corpse. Does that still reduce stress? It does not. It does not. Okay. Glad that we got the Arbalist, because this is our preferred healer. And who do we want to heal? Probably the Occultist. Okay, speaking of the Occultist, I mean, Barrack can heal himself, but he's on full HP. You can heal somebody, but you have the chance of applying a bleed, which we'd rather not do. I think we're just probably just finishing you off now, unless we miss. I think we're probably just finishing you off now. Have to tune doggo. Exactly.
brought low and driven into the mud.
Great evasion there. The dodge definitely paying off, but at the same time, the enemies have been dodging you. Okay, so let's take another look here. We know there's going to be a curio coming up. Remember, we did not have scouting, so we can only see the stuff that is straight in front of us. Oh no! That's an obstacle, and we are out of shovels. That's not a sight we like to see, especially not for Amberic, who is pretty stressed right now and is about to take more stress from this. Okay, we don't really know what this is. I don't think we've technically encountered this before. The bounty hunter does have the lowest stress. Cart of human remains. It looks much like a feeding trough. Disgusting. I agree. Once again, there's probably technically a way to guarantee that we get some good stuff out of this. Is it holy water because this is perhaps a rather cursed thing? Is it medicinal herb because it's probably a very diseased thing? Is it anti-venom because it's in a different way also a disease-like thing? Many of those things could potentially be viable options, but we don't really know. And given how we have just determined that we are likely, if not guaranteed, we are guaranteed to need to take on some additional stress to break through this thing, I think we probably pass on this. And we probably light things up a little bit more here, because this is not going to go over well. We only took one shovel. We were betting on, since this is a short dungeon, maybe we wouldn't need a second shovel. Alas, it was not the case, which means we are getting a whole lot more stress here. We've not completed our objective yet either. We were also hoping that maybe, since we only needed to finish all the room battles, that might have meant that we'd hop into the first or second room and there'd be a battle there, we'd finish it, and then we could leave if we wanted to. And that way, if we ran into any trouble later on in the dungeon, we could say, okay, no worries, we'll just double back, we'll head back to the hamlet, and we don't need to do this. But, yeah, and Barrack is definitely the biggest concern here. Currently at 51 stress. But we've no other choice.
Without tools,
a little bit of damage.
You must rely on
and Barrack gets the highest stress out of everyone as well. 71 for Amberic. Does our torchlight go down as well, or did that just happen to go down simultaneously? Coincidentally? Wait, let's collect ourselves. We don't know what's going to be through this door. We know that one of these three rooms has a fight in it, because otherwise we would have already gotten the message that we've completed our primary quest here. So it could very well be this one. I think it's unlikely that we have 2 room battles remaining, just because we've already seen several thus far, but I mean, who knows, right? Is it a battle? It is. Okay, honestly, we'll take the spiders. I think they are probably not as threatening of an enemy, and we surprise them as well. So we definitely can deal some significant damage here. Now, I think I remember... Yeah, these guys can stun and debuff. These guys have a chance of poisoning us with blight. So we probably do want to focus on the spitters if we can. And all of them have just 7 HP. They have high dodge chance, though. So they're going to be hard to hit. So you do not have a lot of accuracy. And yeah, spit and bite. So I think that means spit is the ranged ability, which is chance of blight and debuff, whereas bite from close range is just chance of blight. So it's marginally better if we move you into the melee rows, but that's maybe not a huge difference maker. So I'm not sure that Damon's Pull makes that much sense. Probably would prefer just the upfront damage, especially because if we do get the high roll, then it is going to kill you. 65% chance to hit. I do not like those numbers, though. I do not like those numbers. Bounty Hunter. Like bounty on either of these. Not guaranteed to kill if it hits, but it certainly could. Finish him. Same damage numbers? Yeah, same damage numbers. Would look to stun and knock back, which is still not enough to kill, even if it does high roll. Not that concerned about these guys. I think we go for the killing blow here. Oh, it's not enough, though. That's kind of painful. And I went for the front one because I knew that the Arbalist was not going to be able to hit it, because I assumed the Bounty Hunter would be able to kill you. But then it didn't. Oh, well, then again, I mean, I suppose we can still do Bola. Maybe we do. Out of curiosity, though, sniper shot. It's a decent chance. This is the last character we have that's going to take a turn before all the spiders go. So is it a pretty much sure thing taking out one of the lower priority enemies, or a little bit more uncertainty, but targeting a higher priority enemy? That's the question we need to ask ourselves here. Not that. I don't think I'm that concerned about these guys, but then again, maybe we take the sure thing. Unless they both dodge. Oh, we still have Amberic. Okay. Well, in that case, might have gone for the range row people anyway, because then if we got any damage at all, I mean, Amberic can still potentially take you out. So I think we try that. And Doggo lands the killing blow. Now it's hitting the mark. And once again, Amberic dodges. Web. And they are focusing on Amberic big time. Amberic's stunned. And marked. Which means they're going to be more likely to go after Amberic, which is not what we want to see. Amberic resisted the blight, but has taken some damage there for sure and is stunned. So I think what we're doing here is, with just 3 spiders, one of which is fairly damaged, I think we're just looking to take them out as quickly as possible. I think we just take them out as quickly as possible here. The Arbalest could heal Amberic, but I think with 15 HP left, that's not a huge concern, especially since Amberic resisted the blight. And if we get rid of some of the enemies, and that means we're going to take less damage as well. So I think maybe we do go for the bola here. Hit you, and if it does hit, it's going to guarantee kill, and certainly get the other one into killing range. Or kill them both with a crit.
Executed.
Very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, I say we finish him.
Executed with impunity.
And execute with impunity.
Be wary. Triumphant pride precipitates a dizzying fall.
Okay, so Amberic took some damage there, and did we take any stress? I'm not sure that we did. We relieved some stress with our crits there. And that was the final room that we had a room battle in. Which technically means we could leave. It's up to us. Our quest is complete. There's no definitive benefit from progressing further, other than that we might find additional loot from finishing battles, or curios, or whatnot. Of course, there's always the risk of taking on additional stress or damage. So let's take stock here. I mean, Amberic certainly could use a break. The Arbalest also is taking a fair bit of stress as well. So these two, for them, we would probably like to head back soon, potentially right now. Bounty Hunter is doing pretty okay. Occultist is middle of the road. Too bad we can't camp, right? If we could camp, then, I mean, we certainly have the food to do it, right? And we'd be in probably totally fine shape from there on out. I mean, it's 2 more rooms. We could see if we poke our head in here, if we see anything. I mean, we see a curio, one that we don't really know how to cure, or guarantee that we benefit from at this stage. No scouting, so we don't know what else lies further ahead. So, I mean, if we went here and we saw, like, a curio that we felt pretty confident in, then maybe we hop in, take the curio, and then we leave. But, given, I mean, well, I don't know. Do we feel like taking a chance on this curio? We have a holy water to spare, a medicinal herbs to spare, an anti-venom to spare. I still am not certain what the correct answer for this one is, but this could potentially be a time to experiment a little bit, especially because if it is a bounty hunter who does that, the bounty hunter, sure, is taking a little bit of damage, but doesn't have that much stress. So if we do it and it fails miserably and we get more stress, then, okay, it's not the end of the world. I say we might do this for science, is what I'm getting at here. If it goes horribly wrong, then we double back and we leave. If it goes wonderfully, then we probably just take whatever benefit we get from it and still leave. And we're basically just sacrificing the bounty hunter in the name of science. Just in case. So, it's this. I mean, we could just take stuff and see what happens. But that's, of course, a higher risk. I am leaning toward holy water. I could definitely be wrong. But let's see, what is the description exactly? A cart of human remains. It looks much like a feeding trough. Disgusting. So maybe this is just me. Maybe this is just the theme of the game. Seemingly everything appears to be this dark, cursed thing that perhaps we could purify with holy water. Thing is, that applies to basically everything, and I doubt that holy water is the answer for everything. So, on one hand, holy water is almost always going to be my first guess, I feel like, for how we dispel some of these potentially hazardous curios. On the other hand, it's probably not going to be the answer every time, so, like, let's still try it, though. It has no effect. Okay, well, in the name of science, we've now determined that is the case. So, we can now, we can throw additional things at it. I think that herbs may be a little more likely to work than the anti-venom, because it doesn't seem like it's poisoned, this thing here, as much as it's diseased. Maybe a little bit of a distinction there. Hard to say definitively, but there we go. The herbs do work. I mean, it gives us food and 250 gold, which I'm not sure if we on net benefited from that or not. We'll take it, of course. I suppose more than anything, it gives us the knowledge that the medicinal herbs are the answer for these things, which I almost certainly will not remember. But, you know, now, I'll tell you what. Once we have successfully figured out once what the correct way to dispel a curio is, you guys are allowed to remind me. That's not spoiler territory anymore. At that point, it's just, Lids, remember you did that thing before and you forgot. Oh, thanks for reminding me. I think that's fair. Yeah, also, I think we should be asking some questions about that food. We just got a large quantity of food from a cart full of corpses. Are we sure we want to be eating that thing? Look, Jared, don't worry. We cured all that stuff with medicinal herbs. It's totally fine now. It's totally fine, as everyone knows. You just throw little medicinal herbs on rotting corpses, and everything is fine. You can just eat those things. You can eat them raw. Tastes like chicken? Question mark. Look, you know, I won't be the first to try it, but sure, if you say so. Okay, so we could delve further here. I forget what this curio was. Might have been another one of these, but we no longer have any more of the medicinal herbs. Really, there is another curio. Oh, it is just a backpack. I can see it out of the corner of the screen there. That is not something that requires any items. It's just a total dice roll, and maybe worth actually using the bounty hunter as a sacrificial lamb this time round, and might suffer some negative consequences, but if it's truly going to be the end of the dungeon, then maybe we can live with those. I say we go for it. And look at that. I have the torch that doesn't really matter. A not huge amount, but somewhat significant amount of gold, and a journal page as well. So it's not bad. Nice little bonus there for walking a few extra steps and taking one additional little risk. So at this point, I think it's safe to say this is probably a good time for us to head out of this dungeon.
Some experiments should have never happened.
And as I was saying,
just work ending them.
As I was saying at the start of this dungeon, it really felt like after our previous dungeon where things went horribly wrong and we invested a lot in a dungeon that went horribly wrong, we just needed something to go objectively well this time around. We did get some characters that experienced a lot of stress, true, but we did get a fair sum of gold, a few portraits, a few busts, not a huge return. Okay, but now let's see. Did our Arbalist level up? Or no, they need slightly more experience to do that. The Bounty Hunter definitely needs more, but we did, I believe, see both Amberic and our Occultist level up there. As for the Quirks, though, what do we get here? This could be the difference maker, the deciding factor in terms of, was this a successful dungeon or was it not? Didn't get stressed at all, Sinatra. Let's see. Ooh, negative and positive for the Bounty Hunter. In town will never drink. Okay. Of the various things that prevent people from doing various stress relieving activities, just being able to not do one thing is much better than the ones that say you can only relieve stress in this one single way. Quick reflexes plus 2 speed. I like that a lot. This is already, he was what, a base 5 speed character? So adding 2 more speed, it's 7 speed. Definitely moves him into the very quick territory. Then the Occultist. Positive Photomania. Don't think we've seen this before. Minus 20% stress if torch is above 75. Okay, so that's really high torchlight. But when we can, we're generally trying to do that. So it's not a terrible thing. Okay, and Barrack, what did you get? What did you get? Oh, it's negative. That's the crit one, right? Minus 5% crit if HP is below 50%. Of all the possible negative ones, I don't think that's a terrible one. I mean, I don't remember how much of a crit chance you tended to have. I think it was decent. The Bounty Hunter, I believe, was the highest, but you might be a little bit above average with crit chance. And, I mean, it's only if you're below 50% HP, which hopefully is not going to be happening all that often. So, I think of all the negative things you could possibly get, it's not that bad. But obviously, it is still a negative thing. Then our Arbalist, who, remember, did get a sickness there. Early Riser, plus 2 speed if torch is above 75. I mean, imagine combining that with quick reflexes and getting even more, double dipping on the speed bonuses for plus 4. I mean, once again, this was another character that was sort of middle of the road with speed. I think it was 5. So getting plus 2 if torch is above 75, which, again, for the most part, we're trying to make that happen. We're occasionally dropping a little bit below that. But, that could make this another very speedy character. And this, we might see a little bit more of this team. Not quite this exact team in the future, but with the Arbalist, the Houndmaster, and the Bounty Hunter all having ways to benefit from marks, those 3 could certainly work together in the future. I'm thinking we would probably remove the Occultist, because Barrack ideally would have been in that 2nd spot, and then we could put in someone in this 3rd spot who, I mean, I would say is tankier, because that was one of the things we were missing here. But then again, if you're in the 3rd spot, I'm gonna guess it's not necessarily true that the person in the front is going to get hit more often than the people in the back, to a certain extent. So yeah, I mean, we can experiment with it a bit, but I think these 3, we've discovered something. They do seem to have some synergies, some good synergies with one another.
Their customs are curious, and their generosity is notoriously short-lived.
Okay, let's see what happened while we were out in our dungeon. Nomad New Year. The collection is indeed impressive, and all the more appealing when one takes notice of the discounted prices. Normal trinkets cost 50%, half price. Okay. We haven't really bought any trinkets yet from the shop, I don't think. Notably, it says normal trinkets, so the common rarity, so the ones that either have not so much of a positive effect, or they do come with a decent positive effect, but have a somewhat significant downside as well. Tends to be what we've seen there from those ones, so we'll take a look for sure. Watch it be that common trinkets are 50% off and there just aren't any common trinkets this week. That would kind of stink, but let's see. So, what do we have? Our Bounty Hunter, our Occultist, and Barrack, and our Arbalist all came back with many swine slain in the Warrens. We had Barrack and the Occultist level up. We just read that the trinkets are going to be less expensive. The normal trinkets are going to be less expensive this week. Anor was in the sanitarium getting cured of her wasting sickness, because she, last time, did get a sickness. So it worked. Doesn't seem like there were any downsides to that. She does still need stress relief. I remember she took a real beating last time between the sickness and the stress. So we addressed one of those things, but we'll need to address the other thing this week in all likelihood. But she is also one of our more experienced characters, and so, you know, maybe this is still another opportunity to get some new people out and have Anor, me, and other experienced but stressed people sit on the sidelines for a bit. How's Core doing? Because he would fall into that category, at least for experience, although he is not stressed at all, so he could potentially help carry a team. But let's see. Other than that, Ryu He's feeling strong and powerful after challenging the flesh. With flagellation, just relieved a whole bunch of stress. I think he had a ridiculous amount of stress before. And I think we upgraded that component of the Abbey to make it so that that relieved a lot more stress, and I mean, that's pretty sweet, being able to go from a very high stress after one mission. I think it was 81 relieved, right? So Ryu was at 90. Dropping down to 9 after just 1 week is pretty nice luxury to have. Then let's see, Cam, oh no, is moving sluggishly after a long night of drinking. Cam had a knife on the town and recovered 56 stress. What does that mean though? -5 dodge. Permanently? Or is this just from 1 week? -7 armor base, -5 town. The town has reduced Cam's armor. How dare it? How dare it? Okay, Cam, I mean, if we can basically just wait this thing out, if by not bringing you on the next mission, we can just avoid this debuff, that might be what we choose to do. And that is everything for this week, at least in terms of updates there. We know there's a discount here at the Nomad Wagon, so let's definitely take a quick look over here. Specifically with normal or common trinkets, so the Move Stone can use on anyone. That is a weird one. Plus 15% move skill chance, so skills that move enemies from one road to another have a small increased chance of doing that at the cost of losing 1 speed. This is what I was saying before. Comes with a plus side. In this case, though, it's not even that good, I don't think. And comes at a -1 speed. It's not a huge number, but we were just saying how much we like having the high speed, so that does hurt a bit. However, Selfish Pendants doesn't come with any downside. Just -15% stress. It is common, so we're getting a discount on it. It is for Hellion only, which means Steelwolf Jr. would be the one who would use it, who does not currently have a trinket. Now, how do we feel about investing in trinkets in general versus other things like weapon upgrades and skill upgrades and what have you? Are those a higher priority? Or do we say, you know what, it's a discount, it's worth it? Look, just because it's on sale doesn't necessarily mean it's still the best thing for you to spend your money on. This is perhaps more relevant now than it would normally be, as the Steam Summer Sale is currently active. So, IRL, that may also be the case. So that's worth considering at the very least. Let's take a quick look at the Stagecoach, though. See who we have available here. And I'm not really sure that we love what we're seeing, because we have a Leper, an Occultist, and a Vestal. We already have characters for all of those classes, some of which are a little bit beat up at the moment. Nor is our Vestal, and we just relieved one of her sicknesses, but she does still have a lot of stress. Then again, she is a level 2 character, so there is some reason to, you know, be putting some additional time and effort into Anora here. It's not like, you know, she's just some random person that we picked up on the side of the road who's still level 0 and doesn't have a lot going for her. Then we have, I mean, we just did a dungeon with our Occultist. So he is level 1. He's a little bit stressed. I mean, technically you could, I suppose, dump this guy and bring in the other Occultist if you had reason to think that the other Occultist was better. I don't remember. There's a chance that we messed around a bit with his skills. We might have purchased one of these to unlock it. I don't recall. Then again, we still have several that are locks, so maybe not. These might have just been the ones that we started with. They probably were. I guess we did not invest any further in you. But there's a chance that this guy has preferable skills. No, is it perfectly identical? No, Weakening Curse. Our Occultist does not have this unlocked. 95 accuracy. Does do some damage, but it's a small amount. It's just a quarter of the usual damage. Relatively low crit. It's primarily a debuff. Makes the enemy deal less damage and take more damage, 10% in both cases. And it comes at the cost of this one does not have the stun. Ooh. That seems like that's a big thing not to have. Sure, it does come with its downsides, but I still feel as though that is going to be one of the most useful abilities that this character has. I mean, stun has been huge for us thus far. So I don't think this guy's about to just hop in and take our existing occultist spot. And then Ryu is, of course, a named leper, so not about to replace Ryu. Although, curious to see, Chop, we have that on Ryu. We do not have Revenge on Ryu. It's a buff, self-buff. Additional damage, additional accuracy, crit chance, reduced dodge, and increased damage taken. Oh, interesting. So, not all positives. High risk, high reward, deal extra damage, take extra damage, though. Oh, and also another self-buff? But then you can increase your protection. And this looks like a taunt as well. Resist damage, resist statuses and movements, but also mark self, so yes, a taunt. And then intimidate as well. And mark self, but give extra speed. And I do believe Ryu has this ability, but we've not yet tried it, so I don't really get the whole bypass stealth component. But, yeah, this is weird. I mean, I guess it makes some sense. This is a leper that is all about the buffs. All about the self buffs, and then you just chop some people. You just walk in and you chop some people, you know? No big deal. But, Ryu has Hew, which is useful for having the option to hit numerous enemies. And I think Ryu also has Solemnity. Pretty sure. So I'm pretty sure we've used that heal and stress relief, and that's a lot of healing. And 5 stress relief doesn't sound like a lot, but that's actually not terrible. And if you can sneak in a couple of those, that adds up very quickly. So yeah, I probably still prefer the skill set that we have. Yep, there it is. On our leper, the one exception maybe being Intimidate, because I still don't fully understand how exactly that works. But I guess it is almost entirely self-buffs or heals, those other abilities. And just a matter of which ones you like most. So yeah, I don't think that really changes much. And Anor, I forget if she has Mace Bash. I mean, Anor is level 2, so very unlikely that we would just dump Anor here, but she doesn't even have access to... Oh no, there's Mace Bash. Which is locked, or she just doesn't have it selected? No, she does have an option of choosing that. I think she started with that. But we unlocked an additional skill for her. I forget which one it was. I think it was the group heal. Yeah, Divine Comfort. Like we started with this and did not have that. But then we unallocated that so we could add that. And turned Anor into more of a healer. So yeah, I think we probably still stick with Anor here, even if, you know, she's gone through some tough times. It's not like we're about to dump our named characters here. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay, so in terms of how we want to spend our resources, not looking to bring anyone on from the stagecoach, I don't think. We do still have some stress relief that we're definitely looking to do here. Who are we prioritizing? I think Amberic is the most highly stressed. 71. 41. 51, but probably going to want to get rid of this first. 74. Okay. And 56. Yeah, we do have a lot of stress building up here. Let's take a look at what places people can and cannot relieve stress. So for Nor, will not pray or flagellate. It is unfortunate because those are some of the things that we've upgraded the most. And can't meditate because that's occupied by the caretaker, which means Nor does need to go to the tavern for stress relief, which I don't believe have upgraded quite as much. And with 74 stress. Honora does need to relieve. I mean, she doesn't have to get back down to 0, but she does have a lot of stress we'd like to relieve. So Brothel is the most capable of relieving stress. I forget if we've upgraded all of them once, which has increased the stress recovery, can reduce the treatment cost. We do have the means to make probably 1, maybe 2 upgrades in town this week. So that could potentially be one of them. Not sure what our alternatives would be. But before we commit Honor to a room somewhere where, you know, there might be a spot where, you know, if Amberic needs to be in a certain spot. No specific restrictions with regard to how Amberic can relieve stress. So that's good. Amberic is flexible. I think I am not flexible. I will only pray for stress relief. That's the bad kind. That's the kind where I can only do one thing, and so that means I should take this spot, because otherwise I am sitting around doing nothing. I know where we said can't do that anyway, so it's not like I'm competing with her. Then just throw you in the sanitarium, because that's definitely what we're going to want to do here. So treat diseases, humors, and other physical maladies. That's what we're looking for. Get rid of you. Then I think Amberic is our next highest priority, so it's between Amberic and Honor competing for stress relief, and the best spot is technically the brothel, and Amberic does need it more than Honor needs it. Slightly, right? It's 70... Oh, no, actually, 71 versus 74. Okay, so technically we should put Honor here, and we should put Amberic here. Out of curiosity, can we further upgrade? Oh, we've only upgraded... Yeah, okay, no, we were checking this before. Yeah, we upgraded each of these once. The brothel is the most expensive and technically the most effective, at least in terms of pure stress relief. So if we're talking about getting as much value as possible out of reducing the treatment cost, it is a little more beneficial to invest in the brothel than it is the other ones. So maybe we go that route.
Strong drink, a game of chance, and companionship. The rush of life.
And that also means that now at this point, the brothel is almost the same price as the gambling hall, and it's just more effective. So that seems like that's a good way to upgrade a brothel, and just makes it almost across the board a better option than the gambling hall. So yeah, let's go Honor here. We'll go Amberic there. We can't afford subsequent upgrades, at least not here in the tavern. So we did get a decent return from that dungeon. Not a huge one, but a decent one. I think we started off, before we began that encounter, on about 8,000 something gold. We are relieving a lot of stress here, which is costing us a fair bit of monies. But some of that is stress that we actually incurred from a previous dungeon, in the case of Honor at least, and in the case for me. So in truth, this is us feeling the deferred costs that we had from a previous mission, more so than the costs from this mission right here. So basically, the previous one before this was even worse than we had initially experienced, or than we had immediately experienced, because we still had more stress relief to pay for. So now that leaves us with our random Occultist is the one character that could still use some stress relief. He's at 41, which is not great. Probably wouldn't want to bring him out. I don't remember. Do characters relieve stress just by hanging out in town, even if we don't specifically have them go anywhere? Like, if we just have this guy standing around doing nothing, is he gonna at least get a small amount of stress relief, or is he quite literally gonna be on 41 stress next week as well? Because, like, if we don't bring him on the next dungeon, he doesn't go and relieve stress but he loses 5, somewhere in the mid to high single digits for stress, might just barely be enough to justify, or at least feel kind of okay about taking him out for the next dungeon. 41 is probably higher than I'd like him to be right now, but just a little bit of an improvement. Do you have a wish to name him Arumi? Do you know what Arumi did? You remember, Nor? Were you there? Were you there at the time when Arumi fed? Who did Arumi feed to? Fed Steelwolf to Yslok. Okay. I'm gonna say we can't just let Arumi sneak by and go unpunished for that grievous deed. But I mean, if Arumi, I'm not sure if we've seen Arumi since. Arumi just fled the scene of the crime as soon as it happened as well. Which honestly might be the worst part of it. It'd be one thing if Arumi stood his ground and served his sentence, but I'm not sure that he has. So what I'm saying is, I don't think Arumi deserves it yet. Not unless Arumi comes back and redeems himself, is what I'm getting at. Okay, but yes, we do have a fair number of characters that remain unnamed here, including our Occultist, including our Arbalist. Who else? Our Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter, despite having gone on the previous mission, is doing okay from a stress standpoint. 28. That's kind of what the threshold, or around the threshold I'm talking about, where it's a little bit on the high side for taking someone out, but as long as we're relatively careful with them, we could definitely take them out for a short mission. So what are we looking at in terms of who we have available for our next one? Steelwolf, 0 stress, looking good. He'd be an option. Ham has the dodge debuff, so ideally we'd have her sit on the sidelines. We do have, of course, 2 abominations, so it is convenient in that way, in that we could just have Jer jump in and take what might have otherwise been Cam's spot. So we could say have Steelwolf in the first spot, Jer in the second spot. Core, we've established, is in decent shape here. 0 stress. We'd kind of like to get other people besides Core out, because Core is our most experienced character, and we'd want to get people up to Core's level and experience. So if we can avoid that, that'd be nice. But then again, Core is one of those characters that has that rare, somewhat rare ability to occupy the third spot, which we have been in desperate need of at times. So that is a nice thing to have. We were just saying how the Bounty Hunter theoretically can go for the next one. And what is it that's not available from the third spot for you? Collect Bounty you can still do. Mark for Death you can still do. It's the knock and stun back, which is, or knockback and stun, otherwise known as knock and stun back, which is really nice. So that does kind of stink if that's not available. So once again, it really seems like, and we have Ryu also available, but it really seems like we have just a ton of people who can occupy one of the front 2 spots, and not a lot of people that can occupy the 3rd and 4th spot. Like, who can take the 4th spot here? I'm not sure we have a single person that can. Core, if we switch around his skills, I mean, pistol shot still works from the 4th slot, so we can still do some damage. Grape shot blast does not. Duelist advance, and technically he can start in the 4th spot, shoot his pistol, and then use duelist advance to move into the 3rd spot, where now he is able to use things like grape shot blast and open vein. But then that means we're bumping somebody else into the 4th spot, and who are we throwing under the bus like that? Because there really isn't anyone available who can make that happen. That's an issue. From the 4th spot, you can't do that. You can do your weird kind of sort of heal. You can't do your stun. You can do your pull. This is becoming an issue. What's up, Azuriski? Yeah, our stun back. Our stun back. everyone happens to wear blue or green, and it's totally random, right? Like, we can switch our outfits. Green. Kind of green. Blue. Green. Red. The Arbalist is the outlier. Green-ish. Sort of, at least there. Steelwolf isn't, I suppose. He's another outlier. Red. I mean, we have some. It's definitely more people wearing green and blue, but there are some people rocking the red. But yeah, the big problem that I think we are very quickly starting to realize is we have a ton of people who can go in spot 1 and 2. Some people who can go 3, but not enough people there, and definitely not enough people who can go in the 4th spot. And that is very, very quickly becoming a rather significant issue. Because what do we do here? We can use a very suboptimal team. We could potentially unlock some additional skills for people and see if that changes things. Like with the Bounty Hunter. We use Come Hither. It deals a little bit of damage, not a lot, and it moves people in closer and marks them. I do like that better than Mark for Death, to be honest. Because Mark for Death, yes, it does mark them, and it does give the additional self-speed boost and all, but usually getting a little bit of damage is quite useful. To at least get people in killing range for others. Flashbang has stun. Shuffle single. I don't know what that means. So what I'm getting at here is, like, maybe if we were to unlock Flashbang and Come Hither, dump Mark for Death, basically Come Hither is replacing that, and Flashbang replaces Uppercut, then we can turn the Bounty Hunter into more of a back 3rd or 4th spot character. Because otherwise, Core is the only person who can do it. Quite literally, the only person who can manage. And even for him, it's not his preferred spot, so that's really not something that we want to do. Our Abominations just really can't do it, because they can't manacle from there. And if they do transform, then all they can do is, well, mostly things from the front 1 or 1st or 2nd spot, slam from 3rd, but still not great, and that moves the character up into the 2nd spot, so you really can't go into the 4th spot either. We looked a little bit at respecking you, but didn't seem great. Steelwolf, I think we did invest in some new abilities for Steelwolf. Technically speaking, if we were to activate this, it does move you forward 1. Which does, once again, get us into a little bit of trouble with, okay, well then who's in the 4th spot? I mean, if we have both Core and Steelwolf and they're kind of just switching places constantly, they both start in the 4th spot and then they use their abilities that send them into the 3rd spot, maybe that's okay. But do you have other things in addition to that you can do from the back? Because, like, Iron Swan, obviously, never going to work. If you're starting the 4th spot, that's just going to take way too long to enable that. Wicked Hack, also not a possibility. Barbaric Yop, also not a possibility. Adrenaline Rush is just a self buff, but you can do that from anywhere. Bleed Out, only at the very front as well. Yeah, this is, I mean, you have one ability from the 4th spot. Where was it? The Breakthrough. And then you can use, if it bleeds, from the 3rd spot. So it's possible, but it's not, it's significantly limiting Steelwolf's potential in that case. And the problem is we don't have very many range characters, and the ones we do have are the ones that very much need stress relief, like Anor and our Arbalist, and Barrack can kind of do it, but Barrack also needs stress relief right now. His Hound Rush works from the back. We established that the stun ability that we liked, that can only be in the first or second spot, which is what we were missing out on before. But plus 10 dodge, wow. There are other things that we can get in the more distant rows that can turn Emberic into one of our other more ranged characters. Stress relief from the back. 66% chance of -2 stress. Compare that to... where was it? Solemnity, and that is just objectively exponentially worse on so many levels, both from a stress relief and from a heal standpoint, and this is guaranteed, whereas... where was it? This is only a 66% chance. This is just a atrociously awful ability. Is there some reason why this is better than it appears? Because right now, it just looks like you would hate... this almost nothing going for this. I mean, yes, true stress relief is a tiny bit of stress relief, but at that point, it's so little that by taking a turn to do this, you're probably just going to end up taking more stress than you're relieving. You do this from anywhere. It hits everything. Low damage. Low crit? Yeah, low crit. Bleed. Okay, so it's mostly a bleed everybody damage over time option. That could be a decent match starter, though. You know, you bleed everyone. It's not going to kill anyone, but it can certainly help get people into killing range for other characters. So if we were to do that, that makes for an ability that we could use in the back row. We can use Hound's Rush in the back row as well. The Mark works anywhere. The self-heal works in the back row. We'd have to dump Blackjack to make room for Hound's Harry, probably. I mean, definitely not going to take that. What's this? Oh, Guard Dog for the extra dodge chance. I mean, that's not bad. I do really like stun ability, so it pains me if we were to remove this to gain something else, but we have a sore lack of characters in the range row. Then again, I say all this, and Barrick is still relieving stress right now, so I'm still not sure how we're doing this next dungeon. Like, really, honestly, we are in serious trouble, it seems. I know we were saying we didn't really need to recruit somebody, but out of curiosity, this Vestal has a more melee-centric setup. That stinks. This Occultist can be in the 3rd spot with this. 4th spot for the debuff. 4th spot for the heal. 4th spot for the pull. Still awkward, because you're losing your one primary damage-dealing skill. You'd be relying on this for damage for the most part, and its damage gets cut in half, so that's not great. It'd be awkward, but technically might actually be our best way of getting a character to occupy that 4th spot. Have you in the 4, 4 in the 3, or potentially Jer, and rely primarily on the manacles. And if we do have to transform, then he's going to need to occupy or end up moving into the 2nd spot. Bounty Hunter can be in the 3rd spot. That's possible. We miss out on Uppercut, which is unfortunate because that's stun. So we'd like for probably to be 4, 3, 2, and then 1 is not a problem. Right, 2 is not a problem either, but yeah, Ryu back in. The Ryu's only level 1? Yes, Ryu went in early. Oh, and went in was the other survivor from that encounter with Yeastlock, so has been in a dungeon in which no experience was received. So that might be one of the reasons why, although being an older character, does not have as much experience as some of the other older characters. So that's a possibility. But it's awkward. It's really awkward. Unless we, like, get the Vestal and invest immediately in unlocking additional skills on a level 0 character that we already have someone of that same class on our team who's level 2. That just feels like that's not the best use of our resources. I mean, either that or we send out a team and we say, okay, we've unlocked a medium dungeon now in the Warrens. Still have a short if we'd like. Plague Doctor only plus 15% stun skill chance. I mean, it's not a huge number, but I do love the stuns. We, of course, once upon a time had a Plague Doctor. No longer is that the case. Why, you ask? Well, we might have alluded to that previously. But, what if... How stressed are you? Relatively. I mean, what if we go out on a bit of a sacrificial lamb type of dungeon in which we are fine with going in and losing or suffering significant consequences on whoever we do take in. Don't bring anyone good or anyone that we are particularly fond of, but that way we have a week in which we can get some stuff, or we can relieve stress for people. And if we do manage to get anything out from the dungeon, then great. If not, then we don't really sacrifice anyone terribly important. We could just jump into a dungeon, immediately retreat. It does lead to stress, right? That's what new hires are for, fodder, exactly. We only have room for one new hire. But we do have some relatively new hires, like the Occultist. I mean, either that or we're looking at possibly just not having someone in the 4th spot, which feels like that is not a good idea. I mean, either way, we are basically forced to deliberately or knowingly handicap ourselves because we have what was initially a noticeable lack of people in the range row, but is now becoming a glaring weakness. And I think we're probably getting this Occultist because it is the guy who is most capable right off the bat.
The abyss, one must know it.
Right off the bat, from hopping into the 3rd row means no sacrificial stab, which means no actual preferred primary damage dealing skill. It's primarily going to be this Daemon's Pull, which is not great for damage dealing. So you're the 4th spot. You can still do that from this 3rd. Can't stun from the 2nd, so we're still looking for a 2nd, or rather for a 3rd. Could be an abomination. We were saying how Cam has a debuff. We'd rather not bring her. That would essentially mean Jer. Jer is not really a character that we just want to throw out there and sacrifice, you know. But we do have 2 abominations. Then once we start getting to the 2nd row, things get much easier for us. We can put Ryu, and then we can put Steelwolf at the front. Maybe that's good enough. I mean, we could put Core in the 3rd spot. But we were saying, if it is going to be a sacrificial run, then we're definitely not putting Core in there. Hold on. Let's take a look at... Put you back for now. Put you back for now. The newer Occultist in the 4th spot. Not perfect form, but it is something. 3rd spot. Bounty Hunter is not ideal, but it's still workable, right? We lose the stun, but I think we said... What were we? We're saying Jer Cam? Send Jer out and make him loot everything? I mean, Jer, you have 0 stress. I think we just go in for a quick one. I think we just go in, try to make it a quick one, do what is more or less the bare minimum, and just try to have this week pass so that we can get people back from stress relief their sickness is cured and what have you. And then we have some more ranged row, you know, 4th and 3rd options available to us. 3rd and 4th row. Now, 2nd row, much more options here. And front row. Now, bear in mind, this is the combination that got us into trouble before. Was it this exact team? No, it was me in the front row rather than Steelwolf. But specifically having Ryu in the 2nd spot, where we had Abomination in the 3rd spot, that when transforming would jump into the 2nd spot. Ryu became useless in the 3rd spot. So I don't love that. And in fact, Steelwolf have anything from the 3rd spot? Yes, technically. Whereas Ryu quite literally has nothing outside of even the self buff. So technically, that's better. Or we throw in a bounty hunter who's a little more flexible. That might be the answer, actually. What if we do our 9 stress? Oh no, I was thinking of bounty hunter is that 28? It's not terrible, but go here, and we go here. It gives us a little more flexibility on the positioning. Our weaknesses are still the back row is not giving us much, and Jer, technically it's not the end of the world if he transforms, because the bounty hunter, although doesn't love the 3rd row, loses his stun ability, he's still capable of dealing damage, so that's something. I think we give that a shot. I think we just zoom in, just go quickly, especially if this is explore 90% of rooms. It's hard to do that fast. This was the one where we get the Plague Doctor item. What if we do this and we just... This is the Warrens, right? Yeah, so we know there's going to be a lot of the vomiting dudes, and we did see a ton of those curios that the medicinal herbs can dispel. Did see some shovel obstacles. We know more about this area now. Part of me is tempted to just say, don't even do much when it comes to resources, and just accept that you can basically make this as short as possible, do the bare minimum, and then duck out. But then again, when we have to explore 90% of rooms, the bare minimum is still a lot. Okay. Like, that might be it. Of course, potentially could justify a key. We didn't see any chests in the previous area. At least something that we knew required a chest. Didn't use any anti-venom. Didn't know if there was anything that needed anti-venom. We did see some enemies that could deal bleed. So bandage could maybe be worth it. Do we have any healing? We have the weird healing that will apply bleed. Jer can heal himself, right? Yeah, and relieve stress. But can't heal others. Bounty Hunter can't heal himself. And Steelwolf cannot heal at all. So that's another... This team is so flawed. But we know it this time. I guess loading up an extra food, which we to a certain extent did, gives us a little more options healing-wise. Maybe we throw in a bandage for that reason as well. Let's make it happen. We're gonna rush this one a bit, because we don't want to be here right now. We want this week to end as quickly as possible.
To prosecute our war against the swine, we must first scout their squalid homes.
That lied. It's too good. Oh, okay. I don't like this though. This layout requires a lot of backtracking. And what's the best way to go about exploring this? So we can skip one room, one big room. If we go here, we need to double back. If we skip this, then we're gonna need to go here, which is functionally the same thing. We're gonna have to double back. But Hold on, and what's the most efficient way to go about doing all this stuff? Because if we go here, double back, we can go... It's still going to be awkward as well. How do we avoid doubling back here? Can we? I'm not sure that we can. There. There's no way to avoid having to double back here at some point. Gross layout. Gross layout. I think we do go here. And maybe skip this. So it's here, back, here, back, here. I hate it, but let's do it. Okay, also for trap disarmers, we have... The Bounty Hunter's pretty good at it, right? He's quite good at it. 50%. Steel Wolf. Where is it? 30%, not great. Jer, 20%. Definitely not good. New Occultist person, terrible at it. So for the most part, we probably want to have our Bounty Hunter as our active character here. Start off by surprising some spidery dudes. Okay, Jer goes first. Jer, you're mostly going to be stunning. Oh, you can also... I forgot you have Beast Bile from this row as well. These guys have some resistance to blight, don't they? Oh, not that much, actually. So it's damage or it's stun. These guys do have low HP. The Beast Bile for 1 to 2 damage plus 2 damage over the course of 3 rounds might help set us up here. I think we're going to have an easier time going for the front few rows, so I think we probably do target those guys, and we got the blight on both of them. That's very nice. Now, Steel Wolf can double stun, but it does reduce his damage and speed, which is not all that useful. Well, it's an unfortunate downside. We might just go for the upfront damage. Especially because these guys are so weak, and if it hits, it's almost guaranteed to kill. You can hit the very back, which honestly might be worth doing, because I think that's going to be a little bit tougher for us to do. And it is enough to kill.
Cleansed from our lands.
Love that. Then, Bounty Hunter. $5 to 10. Once you factor in the 2 damage from blight, I mean, I guess if it hits these guys, they're gonna be dead no matter what, regardless of blight. Same damage here, right? Yeah. We can stun you if we'd like. Technically, the stun has a decent chance of getting someone into kill range. So maybe we try that and potentially get the best of both worlds, or we just completely miss. Okay, so you're funky. You are definitely going to be the weakest link on this team, because when it comes to damage, your only real option is Daemon's Pull. Oh, and actually, you can only do this to the back 2 rows, which means we may not want to have Steel Wolf target the back row all that often. Otherwise, we run the risk of completely shutting you down. It will pull you up unless you resist that. Now they'll go. Stun on our Bounty Hunter. And mark. Light damage. Miss. Light damage, not quite enough to kill you. The spit. Ooh, that hit pretty hard. And he did get blighted as well. That's not great. That is not great. Okay, once again, I think we're looking at the Daemon Pull here and trying to finish you off. And we do.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
Right? Maybe not going quite as quickly as we might have hoped. So Jer can stun. And at 3 to 5 damage, it is guaranteed to kill if it hits, so I think we can again. Blight is 2 damage, just requires 1 damage to hit this guy. It's the accuracy. 80% versus 80% doesn't really make a difference. So, except this does hit 2 enemies, so we should probably do this. Except that it doesn't hit 2 enemies. We've definitely encountered that before. It only hits 2 enemies in some circumstances. I can only hit the second and third, and there were there's only someone in the second spot, no one in the third
This is how
spot.
a life is taken.
Okay, see if you can wicked hack, and it's likely to be enough damage to kill.
Be
It
gone,
is.
fiend.
Okay, decent damage. This is definitely a high damage team once again, or at least with these front two. Jer has some support abilities with the blight and with the stuns. We lack healing, however, for anyone other than Jer, really. Portrait, a little bit of monies. We got something out of it. We at least have gotten something out of it. The biggest thing is that we took some somewhat significant damage here, and we should probably, since we're still going to take more damage from that blight, try to heal things up a bit, especially because that was aggressive. Might not want to have been that aggressive, but especially because we don't really know what else we're going to encounter here. And this is going to be a bit of a long dungeon. Think, because Jer can stress relief and heal himself, we'll have him take more risks outside of the traps. That started with me. Okay, we don't know what's in this room. We have no idea. It is 76 light, so we're still on functionally full light here. It is a battle. It's been a while since we've seen these brigands. They are surprised. This guy's a big one, who might even be worth marking. Although, perhaps we start off with these guys first. So, then again, we've established Jer may be able to stun. You're 6 speed, 3 speed, 1 speed. Let's try to stun you. Then again, you do the highest dodge. Oh no, we can't. We can only stun front 2 rows because you take up 2 spots. You have 50% stun resistance as well. We've seen that before. So I think we're probably looking to stun you. Oh, but he resists still. Okay. Now we've established that this guy can only hit the back row. Or back 2 rows, so I guess it's not a huge concern if we have Steel Wolf go Iron Swan here. Because that is potentially enough damage to take you out before you take your turn, which would be nice. We could. Wicked Hack can only hit you. It's stun, and it's only going to stun you, so it's also not great value. If it bleeds, it can hit you and you, I guess. You still do count as the middle row as well. So, I mean, the bleed on a tanky enemy like this is going to take some time to take down. There is something to be said for that. Oh, he does have a stress ability as well. Here, I think, damage everyone with that blanket fire and some kind of debuff. That's movement and damage. Okay. I think this is a lot of damage. Let's try to focus on you. Not quite enough to kill. But if this hits, then it is a guaranteed kill. And it does.
Continue the onslaught.
Nice.
Destroy them all.
Okay, so 1 down before they got the chance to attack. That's always nice. We can try to stun once again. We did not succeed. Oh, except you can only hit front 2 rows. So yeah, no, we can't stun this guy, at least not with our bounty hunter. So I was saying maybe this guy is worth marking, because he is on 35 HP. So perhaps we go for that now. I don't think we have quite as many people who benefit from the marks on this team, but still, perhaps, worth doing. Slice and dice. Ooh, hits 2 of us for 5 damage. Rain of Whips is the stress one, right? Oh, but we dodged. That's very nice. Okay. So I think we're probably still trying to get rid of you. Although, if we're on the bounty hunter, we do get humongous damage on this marked guy. So, for this bounty hunter specifically, it may still make sense to go this route. For everyone else, target you. Stop resisting the stuns! The crit is, I still don't think quite enough to take him out, though. Unfortunately, Annie still gets his turn off, and still deals a lot of damage here. As we were saying before, we do not have a lot of healing with this team. Jer is pretty much the only one who can, and Jer is not damaged right now. The people who cannot heal are the ones that are damaged. Try stunning again. You have not yet taken your turn. I think it's 50% stun resistance, though. 110% base stun percent chance. So it's actually going to be a little bit higher than 50-50. But is that really a risk we want to be taking here? It's no damage. It also weakens Steel Wolf. I think we might instead be looking at trying to land the finishing blow on you, or set you up for more damage with a bleed. This guy has a lot of DPS. This guy's been causing us some serious problems. We have to... actually... Yeah, we can still hit you with this. Okay.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
Punishments. Gets dodged. Okay. So he has reduced protection for one more round. I mean, we could try to stun him, but maybe, as I was saying, the debuffs on you are more significant. You resisted it. That would have been on other people. Can we even hit you? We cannot really hit you. Might it be worth a high-risk weird reconstruction, or wired reconstruction? I don't even know how you're supposed to pronounce this. On the bounty hunter, and who knows how much healing we're gonna get? We might bleed him. But then again, he's on less than half HP right now. I think we try. Oh, it's a crit!
Flesh is knit.
Beautiful. We do bleed him, but it's totally worth it. It's totally worth it. We almost completely re-healed him. Okay, so now we can also hit for bleed here. Or we could go stun, or at least try to. Or we could go for just upfront damage. Bleed resist is 20. I think we try. There we go. Not bad. Okay. And we can collect the bounty, and this should be huge here. If it hits, it is guaranteed to kill. And it absolutely does.
Size has no intrinsic merit, unless inordinate exsanguination be considered a virtue.
What? Okay, more decent loot. So that is good. We get scouting when we are far away from anywhere that we are really planning to go. That's not the most helpful of scouting missions, but remember, we have realized that it is still possible for enemies to respawn even in areas that we've previously been to. That's the bleed, or the, yeah, bleed damage. We're gonna get a little more of that. Right there. You know this is a room battle with a treasure. Curio at the end. Shouldn't be any traps or anything else like that in here. This is gonna be a pretty long dungeon, as it turns out, so we might need to be a little bit stingy with resources. Well, that's great. Have we seen this before? What the heck is this? Once again, I think Jer is our best person to take risks with because he is the best access, the only person who has access to self-healing and stress healing. What the heck is this? Rack of blades. A rack of dulled, rusty knives. They are covered in fresh blood. Of course they are. I feel like on this occasion, we don't know what the right answer is, if there is a right answer, to try to dispel this curio. And given how much ground we have left to cover, and how little access to healing we have, and how we could find ourselves running out of resources quite quickly here, I think we probably pass on the risk-taking to the extent possible, at least in the early stages here, because this turned out to be... We got ourselves into something a lot bigger than we had planned. Okay, but before we actually go in, we should probably light this back up a bit. Just the walk. It's decent time. Okay, it's functionally the same encounter. Like, really functionally the same encounter here. So, I think we've learned this guy just has tons and tons of damage. We would very much like to shut him down. E-Spile, unfortunately, can't hit. This guy functionally is two people, so I think we just try to stun you. You also actually had a lot of damage. We actually managed to stun you this time, which is useful. Then we can maybe pull you in closer. So you resisted it last time, and you resist it this time as well. That is significant for the bounty hunter, because that means I don't believe he can hit you from there. He can mark you, but he can't really hit you. So in that case, we could mark you. That's what we did last time, and it seemed to be decent setup. Maybe that is worth doing. Alternatively, you could try the uppercut, knockback, and stun. But as we said previously, this guy does have stun resistance, so we're playing with fire a little bit. It's not all that likely to activate. So maybe we do set up the bounty. Okay. Now, Steel Wolf. I think we try to finish you off. 6 to 12 is not guaranteed to be enough. Oh, and this is our last attacker as well. Yikes. Come on, Steel Wolf. No, what a way. Except we dodged. Okay, that's unfortunate. Also, I didn't know that guy had a gun, but now we do know. And Bounty Hunter goes next, and that probably does still mean we're gonna collect the bounty on this guy for the big damage. I think that's the first time we've seen point blank shot. 21, was that the max roll? I think it might have been. Look at that. Glorious. Okay, now I think we're gonna, you're resistant to stun. Technically we can double blight, right? Crit as well. A little bit of stress relief, and we do get the blight on this guy and this guy, so that's very good. Now we're just gonna try to finish you off. No, 1 damage was all we needed, and now he's gonna take his turn. Except we dodged again. Okay, Steel Wolf. How much HP does this guy have? 7. He's gonna take 2 damage, which means we just need to deal 5. So it is possible for you to functionally get the killing blow, especially because you're gonna apply 2 points of bleed as well. So actually, if you hit, you're guaranteed to kill in that case, once all the damage over time triggers. Alternatively, this guy's gonna take 2 damage, so he functionally has 10 HP. If we high roll the damage, we can potentially kill you. But I think this is more of a sure thing. We should probably go this route. That will kill, once all those effects kick in. Rain of Whips, I think, does also deal stress. We did not resist it.
Is the weapon
he dies
that
from bleed.
on its own.
Steel Wolf is bleeding and does not have a lot of HP right now to begin with, so that's not a great look. But Jer, you can potentially hit this guy, and if you do, he's dead, except that you missed. Same here.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
Okay. And now I think we're just collecting bounty again because you were still marked. If it hits, it's guaranteed to kill. And it does.
Size alone does not dissuade the sharpened blade.
Oh, and thanks for stopping by, Anor. Have a good night. 600 gold, not bad. A torch, which, given the length of this dungeon, might be significant. And an heirloom chest. Now, did we take a key? We did not, did we? Ooh. Ooh. Okay, remember when I said we probably want to play it a little bit on the safe side? We might want to play it on the safe side here. Tempting as that might be, I think we probably pass on it for now. This is the awkward part, once again with the backtracking, where, what did we say? We would skip this room, probably? So, that means we go 1, 2, 3... and backtrack, or 1, 2, 3 and backtrack. We don't really have the information to know one way or the other which one's preferable. Yes, maybe we go here first, and we'll see if we get scouting. We might be able to learn what's over here, and maybe if it turns out this is a really safe spot, we could go here. We'll still end up backtracking, but then we can skip this room, so we avoid some backtracking there. So let's head over. Okay. We know there's a curio right in front of us because we can see it, but there is no scouting. So that is unfortunate. We have seen some skull things before. Didn't you... I'm pretty sure on a previous occasion, The bounty hunter insisted. Family sigil, no key needed. It's worth giving it a shot. Well, we tried. We tried. Okay, so this, I'm pretty sure we encountered one previously, and the demonomania forced the bounty hunter into interacting with it. So I'm a little concerned about that. I'm not sure we're gonna have a way to avoid this. Because here it is again. But it is loot.
A fortune, waiting to be spent.
It's a bleed stone, which I'm pretty sure we might have gotten previously, or at least we saw it in a shop and we wondered whether it might be worth picking up. Additional chance for skills to apply bleed, but reduce speed, and that didn't seem like that was really worth it. 1,000 gold, though, is nothing to snuff at. And have we learned anything else here? There may be traps. Been fine for light. Ow. Ooh. Ooh. I forgot how much damage Steel Wolf had taken. That's not a good look. See, here's the thing. We still have a lot of ground we need to cover here, but Steel Wolf really needs a heal. I think we use 1 food, specifically because we're on 9, and increments of 4 are what matter for starvation events. So we at least get 1 heal in there. We should switch back over to you for trap removal. No, I'm not seeing any here. We do not know what's in this room. We do not know what's in this room. It might be a fight. It is not. Okay, that's definitely helpful. But we don't get scouting. So I think it's basically a question of, do we double back here or do we double back there? We don't have the information to know either way which one might be preferable. So I think we go here. I don't have a real reason for you. Oh no, not again. Okay. I assume it's gonna keep on happening. I don't know if it's like kleptomania where there's a chance that it triggers, but it doesn't always trigger. I mean, last time worked out for us, but that's probably not gonna be the case all that often. There it is again. This one's infected. And now you have hemophilia, which means you have reduced bleed resistance. That's not good. So, do these just show up more regularly in this area, in which case not the bounty hunter, but in general, people with demonomania, taking them into the warrens is generally a bad idea? That might be the case. Once again, no scouting means we need to be keeping our eyes peeled. Couldn't have known these guys were coming, but traps might have been a problem. These guys are quite weak, though, so I think we lucked out a bit there. Do they have resistance to stuff? 100% resistance to stun. Decent resistance to blight, but just 6 HP. So I think we're probably looking primarily for the damage here, and if we're talking pure damage, it might even still be this for Jer. They resist the blight, though, as perhaps we might have expected. Okay, I'm just happy they're not going after Steel Wolf. That does come with some stress, though. Honestly, you're the most expendable character here, though, so not too concerned about that. We can heal Steel Wolf and potentially apply a bleed for what it's worth with another weird construction, but see if we can. Oh no, we have to go after you. We have to go after you. Steel Wolf. You are guaranteed to have enough damage, even on the one with full HP. So I think you go for that.
Back to the pit.
Although that was the one that had already taken its turn, so it was the least threatening. In some ways, you do not have a lot of HP. And you also might have just gotten another disease, and you got stunned. Okay. Remember when I said this guy's the most disposable? Yeah, that's a thing.
Executed with impunity.
Nice. Okay, Jer, you are the only one. Well, you're not the only one that can heal, technically. Our stunned character can also heal, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So I think, Jer, you're probably going for 100% resistance to stun, right? No, don't transform. Oh, we can't de-spy you from there, though. I mean, it is still some damage, even if it's going to resist the stun. Not that we're in desperate need of the damage when it has 1 HP, and any hit will do.
Formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
Okay, things are not looking great for Steel Wolf. Things are not looking great for this guy either. Got syphilis. Oh no. Reduce damage, reduce max HP, reduce accuracy. That seems pretty darn significant. Beyond just the memes. Once again, let's be on you in case of traps. I'm not seeing any. Okay, light, we're still doing okay. Don't know what this is. Might be a fight. It is not, and we get scouting in the best spot for scouting. Ooh. Okay, and we learned about the entire remaining dungeon. Look at the route that we did not take. 2 curios, which might have been the kind that the bounty hunter would have insisted on using. A bunch of traps here. We know there's one there. We know there's a battle. There are not very many battles remaining, though. It is mostly just the traps and the curios, which is probably a good sign, given how our primary concern right now is not so much stress as much as it's just HP. So I think we go this way. There's the trap. Bounty hunter, please disarm. Success, and reduce stress. So this is going to be the primary threat, of course. That and actually, I mean, hunger, starvation to a certain extent. Not too concerned about. That I am concerned about. I wasn't that concerned about the light, but we could use a little bit of healing. So it's not terrible in that sense, but of course we only have 4 food left, which means we can't really do any food healing now. Otherwise we risk actually succumbing to the starvation. So you don't like to see that. You don't like to see that. Okay, here we go. Ooh, I have not seen these guys before, but they are surprised. So this guy, we know has Drums of Doom, which is stress. Drums of Debilitation, which is a debuff. I think that is only when it's in the front few rows. We don't know what the deal is with these guys. 11 HP. Easy to hit. 50% resistance to stun, which is unfortunate. 100% resistance to blight. A lot of status resistances in total. I mean, it looks like that's probably still a manacle situation for Jer. I think, what is the easiest row for us to destroy? Might be 3rd? Because you can only hit the back 2. Bounty Hunter can hit front 2 for some ability, but I think the 3rd for some of them. Yeah, I can hit the 3rd for some of them. Steel Wolf doesn't have quite as much damage in the middle rows, or from the 3rd spot, but has the hybrid upfront damage and bleed attack. I think this is, if we're trying to just make sure that we get a kill, this is the preferred enemy to go after. It does stun, though. Wasn't really relying on that, but that could change the equation a bit here. Because now we could just go for upfront damage on some of these other guys. Now, Bounty Hunter can't hit the back row, so it'd have to be one of them. It's almost enough. And now you might try to pull this guy over and debilitate him a bit and force him into using his debilitating drums, or otherwise we could try healing Steel Wolf or healing himself. 9 HP, 13 HP. We are more concerned about Steel Wolf here. Then again, we can't hit you though. If we could, it might be enough damage, but we can't. It would be enough damage, but we can't. What does this do? Reduces an enemy's damage. Oh no. No, it does deal. It actually does deal damage. It does deal a little bit of damage. It is possible. It is possible to kill this guy, and it will debuff him, reducing his damage and protection. Okay, let's do it. And it does high roll. So that is a kill. Okay. So now, Steel Wolf. You can go after this guy. It's 4 to 8 damage up front. So if we high roll, we do kill. But this is also our bleed ability. So it deals 2 points of bleed per turn, which means if we get to 6, it's functionally killed. Then again, you are the stunned enemy. So really, probably don't want to be focusing on you. You do have Iron Swan, so we could go after you, and that is a very high damage skill. Or just a Wicked Hack. Which is possible that we kill you. As we were saying, this guy is, I think, primarily stress, which is not actually as much of a concern as HP is here, because this is our last battle in all the likelihood. So I think we actually do prioritize you, oddly enough. Not enough to kill. I think we will still settle. You're stunned. This will be the stress. Or mark, actually. Which means, honestly, of all the people who could be marked, Jer is the best, because he can heal. Others, not as reliably, or not at all. Okay, now... that can hit you, but this can. It's possible. It's not guaranteed, but it is possible. I think, once again, we're just trying to get as many kills as possible, and, I mean, this is guaranteed if it hits, but I think we have some people... Jer cannot hit the front row. Oh, in which case, yeah, we should go for you. Nor can you hit the front row. Well, actually, we have established that you can now. Munch is a funny ability name as well. But, it does also... this does clear out corpses. Which would get rid of you. Which is kind of convenient to set up some people. Okay, and now, technically, Seawolf, it might be worth doing the double stun here. On the 2 enemies that can... oh, they are resistant to stun, though, right? Okay, it does stun one of them, fortunately. Super dodges. You will attack. Going after Jer, but we dodged that, too. So we dodged some bullets there, for sure. And Jer, I think you're still going for the stun, because it's still your highest damage skill. At least against these guys. Now, Bounty Hunter, anything that hits will kill. Go for one that has a little more HP, or we might even... we start weakening you, or do we just... I think we still guarantee that we get some progress done here. If we were to hit the target, which we didn't. Now, Steelwolf is marked. I don't like that at all. I do not like that at all. Because that means Steelwolf is getting attacked here, and Steelwolf takes a bit of damage, and Steelwolf is on 7 HP. That's not a good sight. We can try the weird construction, which could heal Steelwolf up, but it might not. And it also might give Steelwolf bleed, but it might not. This guy has already attacked this turn. This guy mostly just debuffs and does stress. I'm not sure we've seen him use any damaging skills yet. So I'm not sure that we need to heal Steelwolf right now. Maybe we do deliberately just try to get rid of this guy. Have Steelwolf take matters into his own hands here. Leave some stress, but that's not really the big problem. Big crit from Jer, and the stun. A little bit of stress relief. This guy doesn't get the chance to go. And then that means, I mean, we're probably just getting rid of him. Jer technically, could have healed on his previous turn if we were relying on everyone else to get the damage, but we will not go that route. Okay.
A trifling victory.
Oh, the Onyx is actually worth something.
Nonetheless.
Otherwise, not amazing, but that was what we expect to be our final battle. Steelwolf is looking a little worse for wear. What's up, Gyarados? How's it going? Seawolf has taken some big hits, and even the Occultist, although at 50% HP, that's 9. Which is not a very high number. So the big thing is, are we going to be okay from these traps? Because there are still several of them. And we might as well now.
The match is struck. A blazing
Get ourselves back up.
star is born.
So we've already been through here. There's nothing here. We know as soon as we head out here, there will be a trap. There it is. Bounty Hunter is the best person to disarm the trap. And fortunately is also someone who has more HP if things were to go wrong. Stress relief. Useful there. Okay, there will be a curio, which might be one that the Bounty Hunter will be forced to open. We hope not, but that might happen. It will not be. How do we feel about it? I mean, at this point, this trap is and this curio are the only things standing between us and completing this dungeon. I think we can take a few more risks at this point. We're getting close to the end.
Beyond measure. Awarded to the brave and the foolhardy alike.
2 extra busts. Oh, we don't have enough room for it. Ooh. It is my first playthrough. It is not our very first dungeon. If that's what you mean. If that's what you're asking. What would we dump? Can we not stack the portraits? We can't stack the portraits. I mean, we could just burn through torches unnecessarily here. We turned out to have way too many torches. Yeah, definitely still learning stuff, though. Absolutely. Still learning stuff, though. No question. Or the bandages. Unlikely we'd need those at this point. Or even the herbs, potentially, although might want those for the curio. Maybe we dump the bandage. Also, we can see the value. So that's 20 gold of value. That's 15 if we're just going purely off that. I mean, sort of. This was a supposed to be a bit of a throwaway team, and so we dump this. How do we dump it again? Just click to discard. Let's discard. Let's take those. We're near the end of the dungeon. There are very few risks remaining, theoretically. Theoretically. Shouldn't be anything in here. Only thing left should be this curio and this trap. Is it going to be a curio that we are forced to open? It is not, but it is a backpack. We're about to finish. Why not? It's empty. Oh, no, wait. Did it say it had a map? Because if so, then we have already basically seen the entire map, so it doesn't really do anything for us. That is the final trap. And it is disarmed. More free stress relief, basically getting us down to functionally 0 stress. So from a stress standpoint, for what it's worth, stress standpoint, we are doing really well for this dungeon. We took a lot of damage, but damage heals, stress does not at the end of a dungeon. So that's actually kind of preferable. And there shouldn't be anything in here, and it should be the last room that we have to explore. Quest complete. There was a bit there. There was a bit there, a few moments where things started to look a little bit dicey. We took a lot of damage early, which made me kind of nervous. But then we made things work. Didn't take much damage later on. And even with a team that was not ideal, we made it work.
A little less impossible.
Full completion when we had said, perhaps this was going to be a quick one. One that we might even duck out of early deliberately. Because most of our preferred characters were in stress relief or getting rid of diseases and whatnot. But, not bad. Coinage, a little bit of portraits. We did get the Witch's Vial for Plague Doctor, which we don't currently have Plague Doctor because our previous one may have convinced us to do some terrible things that led to that character's death. Okay, but we have 3 new quirks. We did the perhaps most significant thing long-term wise. We did get a couple of diseases. That is true. That's going to be... We don't need to pay much in the way... Really nothing in the way of stress relief. If anything, we might have actually reduced our total stress. I think we did. Because this Bounty Hunter came in with something like 28 stress, and now it's down to just 1. JR has 0, and Seawolf also has 0. This guy we picked up off the street, and this was his first dungeon, and he's 29. Like, okay, we'll take it. But what about the Quirks? What about the Quirks? For Steel Wolf, irrepressible. Plus 5% Versure chance. Oh! Not bad. Not bad. Jer. Warrior of Light, plus 10% damage if torch is above 75. That is functionally, basically, max torch. We're trying to be pretty high torch most of the time, so that should be active somewhat often. 10% is, it's not bad. As for this random dude, claustrophobia, severe fear of enclosed spaces. Not sure I don't think we've seen that on anyone yet, and I'm not entirely sure in what situations that might trigger. I don't know, like the Iron Maidens that we've seen? Maybe? Like the thought of getting trapped inside of one of those? I'm not sure. But the diseases, those are gonna be the big things there. I mean, do we even bother with this random dude? Or was he purely just a 1 week rental? He might have been. He might have been. We might not care about him at all.
Strength, purpose, and peace. All can be found in the focused mind.
Okay, so we got some stress relief, some big stress relief on some of our characters that we very much were missing out on last time, so that's good. Let's see. What has happened this week, though? The veteran sergeant will be demonstrating his training regimen at the guild hall every night for the next week. All those concerned with self-preservation are encouraged to attend. Idle men-at-arms gain 1 resolve level. We do not currently have any men-at-arms on our team. That's a different class, right? But we can check the wagon, see if we can recruit any. This would be a good time to pick one up, right? Okay, what else has happened this week? Let's see. So, a squad that looks quite questionable going in somehow still found a way to get the job done. When we had basically no one who was capable of filling the 4th spot, the back row. And so we recruited this random dude, and he still wasn't perfectly fit for that role, but he did just enough to make it work. So they all came back from a short level 1 mission. The random dude leveled up, but I'm still not 100% sure that we're going to keep him. The militia training we were just reading about. We were able to cure the bad humors from our arbalist, but probably still going to need to get some stress relief for this week. I have been relieved of 55 stress. I think that might have... No, it's not all for me. I still have 1. Okay, I think I'll be fine. I think I'll be fine with 1 stress. Amberic gambled and recovered 69 stress. So Amberic is now down to 2. Not bad at all. Anor also had to relieve a bunch of stress. He's relieved 73. Where did Anor go? She's also now down to 1. Is that a thing? Is it for some reason such that when you have people in town to relieve stress, they, for some reason, don't go all the way down to 0, but will oftentimes drop down to precisely 1? That just seems like an odd coincidence that we had multiple people who dropped to 1. Let's take a quick look here, because I'm curious to see if we get any men-at-arms, because we have not yet gotten one of them, and there is a special event going on in town where we can benefit from having one. But still no. Another bounty hunter, another abomination, and another arbalist. So we have 2 abominations already. We have 1 bounty hunter. We are desperately in need of other people who can fill a role in the back row. And so, despite us already having an arbalist, it does intrigue me to a certain extent, picking up another one here. Now, part of the reason for that problem was because basically all of our characters that were capable of filling the back row happens to have needed stress relief or sickness removal of some variety over the last week, but now we at least have Anor back. Silence! Thanks for the raid. How's it going? How are you? We are doing some Darkest Dungeon with characters named from chat. So we just finished a dungeon in which we were putting in what was a bit of a, honestly, not even a B team, more like a C team, or D team even, and did somehow find a way to make it work. What were you up to? Were you doing some Mass Effect? What were you playing tonight? Some ME3? Yeah, because like, so we weren't able to really use any of our preferred players, characters that we want to have in the back row. That was because Anor needed stress relief. That was because you needed to remove a sickness. You needed stress relief. We still don't, I mean, 3 people, is that really all we have in the back row? Core can kind of do it, but we don't really want to do that. He's better in the 3rd spot. It still feels like we need someone to fill in that final row. And so if we're basically just rotating a cast of characters off the side of the road to fill in that last spot for us, then this guy who did that last time and happened to catch syphilis, maybe we dump him. Just a thought here. But maybe rather than bothering to pay a bunch of money to treat his sickness, maybe we just dump him altogether and replace him with someone who does not have syphilis. Now that's just a thought, but maybe there's something to that. Because we don't really owe this guy anything. It didn't cost us anything to get him. We haven't invested anything in him. We managed to get a little bit of a return of our $0 investment in him when we successfully completed a dungeon with him, but now might as well recycle him for someone else. What's the stat on the Arbalist? Good question. Let's take a closer look. So Arbalist, huge speed boost in the first round, huge dodge boost in the first round. I like that to try to get rid of some enemies before they can hit us. Good scouting chance on the Warrens. Lazy Eye. No. Reduce accuracy and range skills for a freaking Arbalist. No. Plus 20% stress if HP is low. That seems like that could backfire pretty quickly. I mean, obviously we don't want their HP to go low, but when it does, things are going to all start to go south pretty quickly. So, I like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. This is occasionally convenient. In terms of abilities, Sniper Shot, that's the primary ability we've been using for dealing damage on our other Arbalist. Just solid damage, hits any of the back 3 rows, not the front row. Extra damage versus marked enemies, and you know, if we do have a mark skill or another character that can give us mark, then that might be a little bit of a boost. Suppressing fire we do not have on our other Arbalist. Also high accuracy, only back 2 rows, but it hits them both simultaneously on the same turn. Low damage, but it does deal some damage. And it debuffs those enemies with reduced accuracy and crit chance. So it's mostly for the debuff and a little bit just to get 2 enemies hit on 1 turn. Isn't high speed bad for the Arbalist? I'm not sure why, but I don't know. Then again, I am still a noob, so maybe you're right. I mean, in general, I assume that going before your opponents tends to be preferable. But, you know, like maybe there are other members on our team that we would want to go before the Arbalist. Like if we're trying to, say, have a bounty hunter mark an enemy and then have the Arbalist get the extra damage boost on Sniper Shot because the enemy has already been marked, then I could sort of see that. Yeah, for mark teams, I see what you're saying. Okay. I mean, the Arbalist could still be the one marking in this case. I mean, maybe the bounty hunter's mark is the best kind of mark. So you want to have him doing this first, and then you have the Arbalist going after that. I could see that. But I'm not sure we need to be that picky at this stage. At this point, I mean, we were, I would say, borderline desperate going into the previous dungeon. We were outright desperate, I'm pretty sure. We are in dire need of someone who can fill in one of the last spots. Not quite as much so anymore now that we have some people back and available for our next dungeon, but I think we should learn from that experience, because we were fortunate that we had an easy, relatively short level 1 dungeon that we could throw in some relatively new people and not have to suffer too many consequences from it. But if that's not the case, next time we find ourselves without anyone who can fill the last spot, then we could be in some serious trouble. So I think just having an extra body that can fill in the 4th spot and do something. Doesn't have to be perfect, but honestly, just do something so that we don't have someone like Ryu who quite literally can do nothing when they are not in the first or second spot, have to go into the third or fourth spot where they're completely useless. Because we accidentally kind of sort of put ourselves in that position once before, and it was terrible. But if we are forced into doing that because we have no alternatives, then that's going to be really bad too. So I think for that reason, it makes sense to dump the guy who has a sickness that we don't really feel the need to invest in healing, and then just pick up the Arbalist to take his spot, because this guy was also a fill-in role for the final spot, but he's not perfect for the final slot anyway, because he can't use his primary damage dealing skill from there, the sacrificial stab. So he wasn't even the perfect fit last week. So I think we dump him. If I remember, there we go. Dismiss this hero. Who needs him? When's the 4 leper squad? No thanks. Dismiss him permanently. Who
Send
needs
this one to journey elsewhere.
Is that the first one we've sent?
For we
Dismiss?
have need of sterner stock.
I think that is the first squad mate that we've dismissed. So, well, there you have it. I don't think it was worth it. Not worth the bother. And we might as well replace them for free with this Arbalist.
Shoot, bandage, and pillage. The dancing steps of war.
Given how much we probably do still need to, if not a primary person to be in that 4th spot, at least some depth there, where, as we saw last week, if we have a bunch of people who are sitting on the bench, we have at least someone who can jump in an emergency. Because last week was, I would argue, pretty close to an emergency, where there was almost no one at all who could do that. Then in terms of other things that we're looking to do here, we actually have no one who really needs stress relief. I mean, arguably you. You did lose 10 stress, didn't you? I think he was on 41 last week, so it looks like just hanging around in town, not doing anything at all, will relieve at least a little bit of stress. So maybe at 31 stress. I think we just leave you on the sideline again and don't need to even take you in for stress relief. Oh, this Arbalist, our original Arbalist, could use some though. At 51, doesn't need to be a crazy amount, but let's see, increased chance of losing money while gambling, so you probably don't want to take you to gamble. Will not pray or flagellate to relieve stress. So what is the, just go to the bar is the cheapest one, right? That's probably all we need. Okay. So yes, we do have a little bit of our ranged people now having to sit on the sideline, which again is the reason why we picked up that Arbalist there, but should have more people back. And the perhaps bigger thing is that we did also pick up a disease on our bounty hunter. Now he's generally going in the first, second, or maybe third spot, which there are a lot more people who can do that, so that's not as much of a worry. But we can get rid of it, because, I mean, honestly, it's not the worst thing. Reduce bleed resist. There might be some areas we can go into where there are no enemies that do bleed attacks, and so it's actually just a non-factor. It's -5 stress every week. Okay, I mean, it's not huge, but it's something. It's something. You know, to the point where, what was he on? He's on 41 right now? No, he's on 31 right now. So, yeah, I mean, drops to mid-20s next week. Still a little higher than we'd probably like, but also still not sure this guy is one of our preferred characters anyway. It's still a relatively new character that we perhaps want to try to give a little more experience, but might not be about to throw him back into the action anytime soon. So, in that case, why not just have him sit on the sideline and we can save a little bit of monies, and maybe the monies that we would have spent on giving him some stress relief instead can get allocated toward getting rid of this disease on our bounty hunter, which feels like that's a little more of an immediate concern. Can upgrade it to 15 per week if we have a specific upgrade. Okay, speaking of upgrades, we have a lot of busts. It seems like deeds, more often than not, are the bottleneck for our upgrades. So let's take a look here. What can we upgrade and what do they cost? What costs busts? Because we have a lot of those. So it feels like everything costs deeds. Is there anything that does not cost deeds to upgrade? If so, I would consider going after that. Nothing here. I mean, those also cost busts. Does everything cost deeds, and that's just always going to be the most relevant of the resources? Possibly. Does kind of feel like that. Especially when there are upgrades that only cost deeds and nothing else. The guild? Also though. Oh, well, that's where we make the upgrade that you were talking about. Reduces cost of training skills. Skill to upgrade to rank 3. Yeah, but unfortunately that is expensive stuff there. That's super expensive. Blacksmith. We can afford that, but yeah, the deeds, man. Can we exchange other resources for, can we trade busts for deeds? Is that a thing? That feels like that would be kind of useful right about now. Everything costs, or rather a crest. Yeah, everything costs crests, okay. Yeah, replace all the times it said deeds with crests, and then we're talking. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, there are a few things we could upgrade here, but I'm not sure there's anything that is going to immediately play a huge factor, because the only thing that we're really using right now is the medical ward, which we've already spent our monies on, and the bar, which we've upgraded once already, I think, and already spent our money on that as well. So, no real immediate concerns, unless we're going to go for a longer term investment, but that would probably be something like the guild, and we just established that is quite pricey to go that route. So I'm not sure that's any more feasible. Stagecoach, also a bit of a long-term investment. Previously, yeah, we were not able to do this one because we needed to upgrade other things. First, armor smithing is the bottleneck. What does this do? Chance of higher level of recruits appearing on the stagecoach. I'll be honest, thus far, the levels have not been that noticeable. Well, it affects the level to which you can upgrade skills, right? But like, does it give a passive boost to a character's HP or damage or anything like that? Like, damage is purely based on weapon, and HP is purely based on armor, right? So it's not like you're getting more damage or HP from leveling. It's purely that you at least have the ability to upgrade stuff. We actually can with this. We can. Ooh, okay. Okay. We could. We actually could. I did not realize. Okay, now I'll admit I'm not entirely sure how this UI works. Also, I'm not sure what just happened. The game, like, might have kind of sort of now the game has decided that I'm not allowed to press buttons. The game has decided that I'm not allowed to, I can hover over things, but I can't actually press buttons. Hold on, this happened previously, and I tabbed out and tabbed back in, and then it was fine. Let me try that again. Can I press buttons? Am I now allowed to press buttons? Yes, I am. Oh, okay, so this is how many busts I'm trading, then this is the exchange rate. And I click the check mark for whichever one I want to do. It's not, I thought for a second there it was like, oh, you're going to get a mixture of a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a lot of that, but you don't get to choose. No, but I choose which specific one I want. And it does seem as though crests are the primary thing that we're missing out on here. Okay. So in that case, I mean, do we have something? Do we have something in particular that we want to target for upgrades? Because we could, in that case, go after something. The guild upgrade was the most expensive. Man, it is very expensive. Allow skill upgrades to rank 3. Is that what we want to go for? It's really expensive, which presumably means it's really strong. But does that inherently mean that it's the right fit right now? And what other... Can improve stress relief. Reduce the cost of treating quirks. Are any upgrades here?
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
This is just pure lore stuff. Yield for upgrading skills mostly, but maybe armor and weapons. Also very expensive. We needed to get this to unlock the other upgrade at the caravan. So maybe we might as well just do this. Become the meat grinder company. Stagecoach. Yeah, so I'm sure, like, for Darkest Dungeon veterans, there are probably established things like this is the preferred order in which to upgrade all of your things. Do this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. Like, I have no idea. I am still very new to playing this game, and I have no clue what the preferred order of operations for the upgrades might be. So, mostly just went for some stress relief early, because it seemed like that was something we were going to pretty regularly be spending some money on, and getting the cost reduction and the improved stress relief was going to pay dividends the earlier we invested in that. The Stagecoach, I mean, it gives us more options. My first impression was that this was going to be the way to go, was to get experienced recruits. Because then you can start out with some good characters, but I mean, characters, after finishing one dungeon, are up to level 1. So having a character start at level 1 is just not a huge deal. But it does give better fresh meat, so rather than having to spend coins on stress relief, we can just dump characters and get a new person in who's at least capable right off the bat. But that's back to the previous question I had. Is it only the potential upgrades to characters' skills and possibly armor as a weapon that you gain when you upgrade a level, or is it just that when you gain another level with the character, or is there actually an additional passive component as well, where they just inherently become stronger in various ways? Because what I'm getting at here is, like, is there a huge difference between a level 0 character and level 1 character, or is it just that, hey, you have the option of investing in them to make them stronger, but they are not inherently automatically stronger when they're a higher level? So if that's the case, then are we really saving money and getting better fresh meat to just throw straight into a dungeon if, in order to make that actually a reality, we need to invest further in those characters? Because then that feels like, you know, it's not actually achieving the objective we're looking for. But if a level 1 and level 2 character actually is inherently stronger, weapons and skills and armor, because then it feels like, you know, it doesn't, if the primary purpose of getting higher level characters from the Stagecoach initially is so that you have better characters to throw straight into dungeons right off the bat, presumably that means you're not investing in those characters with weapon upgrades, armor upgrades, and skill upgrades. At least not much. Otherwise, suddenly, it's not just a quick throw-in that costs you nothing. And then that means why did you make that upgrade in the first place? So I see what you're saying, but I also feel like it's a bit of a trap for that reason, in that it would give the impression that it helps, but in truth, it doesn't. Or at least it doesn't really achieve the thing that we're saying we might want it to help us with. Like, honestly, in that case, having more heroes available and having a higher roster size so we can just recycle our team more quickly and efficiently, that might be better if that's our goal. Just have more people that we can swap in so we can have a full group of 4 every week that just gets added and removed, and that way we can always completely refresh our team if needed. So if that's the goal of upgrading the Stagecoach, then I think that is actually a more effective way to achieve that objective. So maybe we do that. So that would mean if we want to get a full team worth of people from the stagecoach, we need to have at least 4 heroes showing up every week. Now, of course, there's always a chance that we get some heroes that don't really synergize with each other or, you know, whatnot. It might not actually mean that we can quite literally just take an entire team directly from the stagecoach and put them straight into the next dungeon. But the more we have, the better, right? The more options, the better. So Meat Grinder
can be found even here, in the mud and rain.
We will prepare ourselves for that. Now, can we do enough trades? What are we looking for here? We definitely need the crest. We need the... Oh, we've 0 deeds? Okay, this... We might not be able to pull this off this week. We need 10 of you. That's overkill. 24 busts, though. That is a lot. So that would be... Oh, no, we need 8 of this one. So we can do that. And then... I mean, we could trade some portraits. Those are more valuable. Presumably, those are going to be harder to come by as well. So I mean, we seem to still have an abundance of busts. We do that. Now we can do this too.
More arrive, foolishly seeking fortune and glory in this domain of the damned.
Okay, so now what that allows us to do is we have 4 free spots. We will see 4 people show up in the stagecoach next week. So if we absolutely need to, we can just get an entirely fresh squad of people that we care absolutely nothing about, throw them in there, and even if we give them 0 resources, as long as they come back with some loot but anything at all, then on net we still benefit, is kind of, I guess, the idea. Which we could do repeatedly if we really wanted to, because we have those 4 spots we can use every week. We have 4 new people coming in every week, so the Meat Grinder does in fact exist. People can get ruthless in this game. I mean, I can see how that is a little ruthless right there, but I can also see the logic behind it. I can see the logic behind it as well. So I kind of get it. I kind of get it. But the profits. What about the profits? It's all about the money, Lids.